Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have a best of 2024 video for you, Seasons Edition. So what I did is I went through all of my spring, summer, fall, and winter DIY videos that I made in 2024, and I picked your very favorite from each video to include in today's video. So it'll be a longer video. You might want to skip around or come back later if you can't finish it all in one sitting. We're going to start with spring DIYs. On the first video, your favorite DIY was this beautiful ombre roses sign that I made with supplies from the Dollar Tree. Now the first sign, I'm actually using one of these signs I got on clearance at Target Dollar Spot, but Dollar Tree has the same exact sign, same size and everything. And what I want to do is do like a little sola wood rose ombre like wall hanging. So I'm going to cut down a piece of cardstock. This is just the regular sheet of the paper, and that sign and the Dollar Tree sign are just a little bit smaller. And what I want to do is take these little wood curl roses from the Dollar Tree. You get 4 in a package, and I want to do like a whole wall of them on that sign. But I also want to spray paint them ombre, and so I don't want the overspray to go on the sign. So I'm going to do it on cardstock first. That way the overspray will just go on the cardstock instead. So I had to kind of see how many was going to fit on here. I did 5 across. And then I thought I could do a 7 down. I ended up only being able to do a 6 down. So I only used a total of 8 packages. I had 10 just in case because I wasn't sure how many I was going to need. And I'm just kind of laying them out to get them ready. And then what I'm going to do is attach these to the cardstock and paint them on that with like the ombre effect. I've never painted these before, but they turned out really cool, so I'll probably do that again. I love these little wood flowers from Dollar Tree. They're so pretty. And the great thing about a lot of these DIYs today is since I'm doing pinks, you could do it for Valentine's Day, but all of them are spring DIYs, so you can leave them up all spring. So that works great. Now, the most challenging part, as you can see, is getting the hot glue to dry to make sure these little flowers are standing straight up and not tipping over. I was trying to do like maybe a couple at a time to make it go a little bit faster. But I just keep gluing down. And, you know, you can like put things next to them to kind of hold it up. But I was just trying to hold it. I don't want like a permanent bond. I just wanted enough of a bond to make these little guys stand up so that I could paint them first. And I'm glad that I did like this cardstock or paper method because it did get lots of overspray on the back. And that would have just not looked as good on the final product. So a little bit of prep, getting you ready for this one for sure. So I'm already on row 5. As you can see, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit 2 more rows in there. So a total of 8 packages is plenty for that size sign. And that sign from the Dollar Tree, they have a couple different finishes of wood of that one. But I actually had the one from the Dollar Spot, so I'm going to use that one today. So we have them all. They're all standing up. Except for this one. Trying to get the glue to dry just enough. I don't want like a permanent bond or anything like that. I just want to be able to paint them. So I'm going to go ahead now that I've got them all attached to cardstock and kind of put them in a box so that we can start spray painting them. I picked up a couple colors of pink spray paint at Lowe's yesterday because I wanted to do like a pink ombre. So what I'm going to do is start with this gloss Mambo pink, I guess it's called, then candy pink, and then more of a white. This is like called Sand Dollar. I didn't really want that bright of a pink, but finding different shades of pink is a little bit challenging, I was noticing, so we're going to make it work. So I'm going to start with like the most bold color the Mambo pink here at the very top, and I'm just going to simply spray paint the first couple of rows with a little overspray on the third row there. And then I'm going to switch to the candy pink, which is way lighter. And the great thing about using spray paint to ombre is that you naturally get that fade between one to the other from the little bit of overspray. And I kind of did like, 2.5 of the soft pink too. And then we're going to finish it up with like the shade of white. This isn't exactly white, but it's pretty close. Kind of a soft white. And I sprayed the bottom 2 rows with the white. Now I do want that ombre effect a little bit more pink than white. So I did spray again a couple times like the pink there to make sure everything kind of looks good. That slow, gentle transition in color. And then I just speeded up the drying process with my heat gun. It actually went pretty fast. Now we can attach these to the sign. I love this idea. You could do this, on a smaller scale or a larger scale. Just so pretty. And you could do it with, artificial flowers as well. But I really like the look of the little sola roses. I think they're super sweet. So let's go ahead and start attaching these. I'm going to be doing the same thing as I did on the cardstock, hot gluing them one at a time. And you do have to be kind of careful pulling them off. You don't want to break the flowers. And so I'm going to actually start in the middle. It doesn't really matter as long as I'm using like the right row of color. That way I can get my center row centered properly. So I just sit that, and again, as you can see, it does take a while for the hot glue to set up. So it's almost better to kind of put some things, and I'll show you what I ended up using to kind of, stand the flowers up while the hot glue is drying. And then I'm going to start here on the bottom with one of the white roses. And I wanted to kind of do the first middle row first, so I would kind of know my spacing. And as you can see, what I'm using to stand them up are just the little pink finger protectors from Dollar Tree. That worked perfect. They were just the right size and small enough that you can kind of put them wherever needed. So as you can see, I'm going from top, and then I'm also working up from the bottom. And then I have 2 more. I want them to be kind of spaced evenly without like a huge gap, and I think that's going to work fine. And so I just glue those in place as well. Trying to make sure that I have the ombre effect. And then I'm just going to finish it off by gluing all the rest of them. I'm kind of working from the center out. I'm going to go ahead and do all of the hot pink up here. I didn't really want to do that bold of a pink, but really I only had 1 row here that was that bold because I had a lot more of, the mixture between the colors. Like this is kind of turned out like a medium pink, which is great. And those little finger protectors worked perfect for this because I could hot glue them, stand them up with that while that glued, and it actually turned out really sturdy in the end. So I'm going to continue my way down, doing all the colors in the ombre, and I'm just going to leave like that frame, that color. And as you can see, that wood background looks great back there. And if you can see like the back of my paper, how much overspray there was just by a couple passes with that, definitely was the right way to do it. Now I found the best way to pull these off the cardstock was actually just to rip the paper just a little bit, and then you could just cut it off, and it almost gave you more of a flat bottom for these that you could glue down to the sign, and it made them actually a little bit easier to attach. So we're just going to finish up the final few rows here. And you can see that gentle ombre effect with the pink. I love that. I think that's so fun. And I think this is going to be a great little wall hanging for spring. Since it's kind of a firm sign, you could also kind of lean this against something, make it more of a shelf sitter. Haven't decided which way I'm going to use it. I kind of like it like leaning up against something. I think it looks really pretty for spring. And that's all there is to it. So we have the little wood sola. I'm going to go ahead and get all of any of the glue strings. It's really easy just to melt those off with your heat gun. Clean it up and make sure it looks its best. And I love how this turned out. There was definitely a little bit of prep by having to glue it twice, but I'm so glad I did because in the end I got this beautiful wood flower wall hanging. Isn't this so pretty? And the ombre effect, I love that, the different pinks. And the only way I think you probably do that is with spray paint. I don't normally spray paint a lot of things, but I thought to get inside the flowers like that and to get a really cool ombre effect. And I love how that turned out. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps my videos do better on YouTube. For the next spring DIY video, I did fairy gardens. So I have included your favorite fairy garden DIY. For the first two fairy gardens, we are going to be making indoor fairy gardens using these little signs from the Dollar Tree. I chose these because they have a pretty thick frame on them, and two square ones are going to look perfectly. I can do two fairy gardens and can have it like a path between the two. So the first step is I'm just going to fill the hole in the frame with a little bit of spackle. The only thing I don't like about these Dollar Tree signs is that the frame is like an unfinished like MDF wood, and so it doesn't look very nice. So I'm going to paint mine. Another option is you could cover it with moss or something like that. That would be fun too. But I picked up a whole bunch of the new fairy garden items from Dollar Tree and things that I thought would look cute with my spring decor. So the color I'm going to paint mine is this. It's pink polish. And I've been using a lot of pink with my spring decor. And I'm going to use a lot of pink on these two fairy gardens. So I thought that would look nice together. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it does soak up a lot of the paint. But I'm just going to use a paintbrush and paint like the very outside and the top of the frame. I don't really have to protect the surface on the bottom or anything like that from getting paint on it because it's going to be all covered with fairy garden stuff. And the frame is just going to provide a great border to kind of keep everything in. I'm actually making these two fairy gardens for my dining room. I have a little bit of spring decor from my spring DIY video, and I wanted a little bit more to finish out my cabinet in my dining room. So I have my entryway all decorated for St. Patrick's Day. If you haven't checked out my videos, I have 4 St. Patrick's Day DIY videos this year. And that is the first one. I just did one coat on the very outside. I did go over the very top with like another color or another coat of pink just to kind of brighten it up and make it look a little bit better. And I would suggest definitely painting the frames on those. Now you can be creative on these. You can use anything really with a frame. If you have a piece that you think would work and it doesn't have a frame, you could always like glue the moss and stuff around the edges to kind of provide a little bit of a frame if you're doing an indoor one like this. Today we're going to be doing indoor fairy gardens. We're going to get really creative with different ways to display fairy gardens, and we're going to be doing outdoor fairy gardens as well. So lots of fun ideas for you today. And so I just did the same thing here with the second frame, painting it with that pink polish color. I found some really great pieces from the Dollar Tree in the fairy garden section. I went to like 2 Dollar Trees yesterday to kind of see what I could find, and I was pleasantly surprised with all the cute stuff they have. I love the fairy garden stuff like the beach line. I use that a lot in my coastal DIYs, but I don't normally use the regular fairy garden stuff except for in spring. I really love it. Check out this tree I got. It has like pink flowers all over the top. Really cute for $1.25. It's actually painted really nice too. It's got a little butterfly on the front. I thought that would make a really large piece for one of these. I thought that'd be really cute. And I think I'm going to do it over here. I'm actually going to be gluing my pieces down today so that they won't fall over when I move them around, but that's totally optional. I also found this large piece that I thought would coordinate nicely. It is a tree with the pink flowers, and it's got like a little fairy in a swing, and she's swinging. And it actually sits really nice and everything. I thought that would be really cute to do the other one. I want them to be different. but I want them to complete like a scene. And you could even, if you had space, you could even do like 3 of these. I'm going to kind of show you how I put it all together. It turned out so cute. So just trying to kind of figure out exactly where I want those. I also found the little pond with the frog in it, which is so cute. I was thinking about trying to make like a fake pond with like acrylic or paint or something like this, but using these pre-made items from the fairy garden makes everything so easy, and it is so cute. This other little guy's in a boat, so I don't really have anywhere to put him, so I think I'll just use the pond. And I kind of want that towards the front just because it's a little bit of a shorter piece. And time to keep decorating. I want to do about 5 or 6 pieces in each one of these and kind of lay it out like a little scene. So this is a little garden bench. It's super cute as well. It's got a pink flower on it. Some of these also, like this one also has a little bush that I'm going to use like a little bit later on in another DIY. But I thought this was a really cute little bench that we could create a little scene. It's a great source of miniature items for sure if you want to like decorate miniature stuff. Sometimes I do use the fairy garden stuff for tier trays if it's large enough, like, you know, that tree and the bench and the pond and stuff like that. I thought that the bench would be really cute, like overlooking a pond. We could do like a meadow scene over here with the little fairy swinging in the tree. And then we could do like the house setting on the other side. I also found these great little fairy garden bird baths. They're so cute. They have like flower tops. Aren't these so cute? So I'm going to choose the pink one because I'm kind of going with that pink theme. And it's got like a little ladybug on it too, which is super cute. And I think I'm going to use that over on the right fairy garden. Kind of more for like the house. So I've got like the meadow, and then we've got like the little fairy home, and we're going to kind of make it all work together. Now, this piece, I could not find the bridge. I thought that fairy garden had a bridge, but I couldn't find it. All I could find was this pathway, but I thought I could make that work as a bridge to connect the 2 fairy gardens together. And it actually worked out pretty well. So I think there is a bridge. I looked at like maybe 3 different Dollar Trees and I couldn't find it, so I went with the path. There's also a little welcome sign that came with that. That looks really cute. It looks like a little like tree wood with like a little welcome sign in there. So I thought that'd be cute here at the front of the house. And it's just kind of seeing what you can find and how you can make it kind of all work together. These pieces were like a little bit larger. They're super cute. There's like this like little live, laugh, love made out of leaves, which is cute. That package also has like a welcome sign in it and like a little lamp post. So it's kind of like playing around with it, kind of like a tier tray, kind of seeing what looks cute to make a scene. There's like a little welcome arrow sign, which is super cute. And again, it's just a matter of kind of playing with it, putting it there, seeing how you like it. Once I get everything laid out exactly the way I want it, we'll glue everything down and then we'll decorate this some more. I wasn't too sure about the lamppost just because it's not painted super well, but I think we can probably use it somewhere. Like maybe over here in the home scene. It's just kind of trying to lay it out in a way that makes sense. I want to have pathways and different stuff like that. They're there too. Now, I thought these were cute too. They're a little on the smaller size, but they're like little birds on posts. There's a really cute little wood welcome sign. And I wanted to use a lot of pieces to kind of make it look nice and full. So I thought maybe we could do like the little bird on the post over here, like in the meadow. This cute little welcome sign would look cute next to that little tree house over here. So it's again just a matter of kind of arranging them. And I love how this turned out. It is so fun to DIY. And this would be a great project if you have little ones around that want to get involved. So much creativity. And then finally for the fairies. Now, be careful when you buy these because I went through a couple packages. This packages looked less destroyed, but One of my fairies did still have a broken wing, that one there on the left. I'm going to choose this fairy because she has like a pink dress on. It'll kind of go with the decor. And she's reading a book, and I thought, I will have her hang out over here on this fairy garden because I already have a fairy on the other one, like swinging in the swing. So again, I have them all kind of set. It's just kind of figuring out what's going to make sense. I want a path to come from the front to kind of go to the house, and I want a path to go over to the meadow, to the bench and stuff like that to look at the pond. And I think that looks pretty good. That kind of makes sense. For the grass, I'm going to be using reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. When you buy this, I do recommend trying to make sure you find one that's kind of wet. It works a lot better today. I used some that wasn't, like, kind of dried out, and I had to wet it a lot, and it was kind of not very, it didn't look great. I thought you could kind of re-wet them a little bit better than, I don't know, I soaked it, and it was really dried out. So I put a little reindeer moss over here in the corner, and then I just hot glued down my cute little swing. And I'm just going to sit the moss in there. Since I have the frame, it all sits in there rather nicely. You can kind of push it down to kind of make it look like a grassy meadow. And there's also, kind of different colors of green. I kind of like, this is one of my favorite colors of the reindeer moss, but sometimes at Dollar Tree, it's kind of whatever you can find. I glued that little live, laugh, love leaf sign down there and then kind of finished out this part of the meadow. And we are going to decorate it more with all kinds of like little spring things that's going to make it look like a spring meadow. I'm also going to glue down my little bird on my post and my bench. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the pond and the other little bird here in the front. And then I'm going to continue putting moss everywhere, even like under the bench and stuff like that. Anywhere where you can kind of see the wood come through, I'm going to try to fill that in with moss. Now for the path, I thought I would use a different color of moss. I was able to find this floral moss at the Dollar Tree, and it's a little bit more of a brown color. So I thought that would make a really good meadow path. You can also use potting soil for this, and we will be using potting soil for the other side, the other fairy garden right there. And as you can see, I kind of went from the bridge all the way to the bench with that floral moss, and using more than one color like that can really add a little bit of variety. And then I'm going to finish off the rest of it with some more reindeer moss. Again, trying to make sure it's as full as it can be. I want my path to go all the way to the bench, all the way in front of it. And then we can start filling in the other fairy garden over here with moss as well. I just kind of finishing off my layout. I had trouble figuring out where I was going to put the little light post, but I decided to put it back here in the back. And our little fairy reading a book can be right about here. Her little flower house with her welcome sign. And again, I'm only hot gluing my stuff down because I want to be able to move it around without everything tipping over or falling over. This is going to be an indoor one, but you could also do this one as an outdoor one too, depending on what you put it in. Now here is some more reindeer moss. I'm going to start spreading that around. On this one, I'm going to do like a mossy meadow everywhere, but I am also going to have a path to go over to the pond and stuff like that. And I'm also going to have a path that goes to the house. So I'm not going to need as much reindeer moss on this side, but I do want like the backyard and the front yard mostly to be covered in it. I like to kind of break it apart into smaller pieces and kind of push it down to kind of make it look like a grassy field. I don't want it to be super tall, just about the same as like the border of the frame of the picture frame. So again, I'm going to use some of that brown floral moss for this path. That's going to go over to like the little meadow there, make a little scene. And I left a path with no moss so that I could fill it up with soil. So I was also able to find potting soil at the Dollar Tree, which is a great find. And I'm going to go ahead and just start spooning or cupping some of this in here. I don't want to make too big of a mess with the potting soil, but I just want enough that I can create a little path. Now for the bridge, I'm also going to glue it down, but I'm only going to glue it to one side. That way I can move the two different fairy gardens independently, but I don't really want it to be falling off. So I just glued it to the frame itself. And then for the path going up to the house, I'm going to use some of the little wood slices from the Dollar Tree. They're just little cut pieces of wood, and they work great for little tiny stepping stones. And so I'm going to kind of push those down into the potting soil over here to provide a perfect little fairy garden path. That is a great use for those. And then check out the mushrooms they have in the Easter section this year. I believe these are new this year. I've never seen them. They come in pastel colors and they're so cute. They're little foam mushrooms. They come in two different sizes. These are the mini ones. So at first I'm going to start with the pink with the white spots. I'm cutting the wire but leaving it on about an inch or so I can kind of hook it and push it down into the moss. And that's going to help it stand up. You can see it through the moss and everything like that. It makes it tall enough. And the hook kind of keeps it in place. So I'm just going to scatter little pink mushrooms around. I wanted to use the pink ones because, of course, I'm going with the pink theme for this section of my kitchen with my spring. And then finding small flowers at the Dollar Tree. Sometimes it can be a little difficult. These are called spike. And they have these little tiny white flowers that are pretty small. I always wish that Dollar Tree had a smaller flower variety because I do struggle finding flowers small enough there to use on little miniature projects like this. But I scattered around some white. And then for soft pink, this is called baby's breath. And they're pretty small too. So I'm going to just kind of scatter those around too. These are, like, they don't really have a flower center. They have little tabs on there to keep everything together. And some of mine were not doubled up. So make sure they're doubled up. They look a lot better when there's like two flowers, one on top of each other. So I scattered some soft pink around. And then I also found like a brighter pink of the baby's breath at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just cutting off like a half inch to an inch of the stem and just pushing that down into the moss, and it'll help it stand up. I also found the little mushrooms from the Easter aisle in lavender, and so I thought that would go nicely with the pink. So I'm going to use some of the smaller ones on those as well. And I'm just cutting the wire. The wire is pretty easy to cut, about an inch, hooking it. I'm going to scatter those around kind of next to my pink ones to provide a little bit of variety in color and just a little bit more decor. And this is how it turned out, my two indoor spring fairy gardens. This is the meadow over there with the little fairy in the swing, the little path to the bench overlooking like a little pond with a frog in it. It's super cute. And then you can take the little bridge over to the little fairy garden house. We have the little pink flower house with the little fairy reading a book over in the corner, little bird bath in front, cute little path. And you can just get really creative with your fairy gardens. I love how these turn together, and it was a great way to bring a spring fairy garden indoor for indoor decor. Now for the next spring video, I did spring chicken DIYs. Your favorite DIY from that video was this flowery chicken sign DIY. Okay, the next DIY, I decided to get creative. I have some Dollar Tree flower fabric. I have a metal chicken from the Dollar Tree. I have like a mint green placemat from the Dollar Tree. And I have one of their wood rounds. I wanted to do a spring chicken sign, but I wanted to have like lots of different textures, which is why we're going to be using fabric, the placemat, and stuff like that. It actually turned out pretty cool. I think I can leave the hanger on there. I don't think that's going to cause a problem. And the placemat is bigger than the wood round, so I am going to have to cut it down to size. So I'm trying to center the sign in there in a way that kind of makes sense. And then I'm just going to use a Sharpie to kind of sketch that out so I'll know what size to cut that down. I don't know if I've ever used one of these to cover one of these wood rounds before, but it did turn out kind of cool. Now, if you can't find one of these, I think it would look really pretty too if you just painted it this color. It would totally work because you're still going to get a lot of texture from the fabric and the metal that we're going to attach in the little form of the spring chicken. So just cutting along my Sharpie line. And then we can start putting this together. This was a really fun one. I'm going to do like florals on this as well, kind of using the flower fabric that I got from the Dollar Tree as inspiration. So I'm going to start at the top. So I'm going to go make sure that my hanger is pulled tight and it's exactly where I want it to be because I'm going to hot glue this down and that's probably going to glue that in place. So I'm going to kind of have like the end of the seam there at the very bottom where it ends. And I just start here on the top. I'm going to hot glue like one section at a time just to make sure that my hot glue doesn't start to set up. And this glued on really easily. So I'll do this section as well, and then I'll go in and finish up the bottom. The bottom is where that like strand starts. And I did not get a perfect cut back there, so I'm just going to flip it over, give it a little bit of trim anywhere that I see any fabric like coming over the edges a little bit just to clean it up. But otherwise, it's got a nice smooth edge, so I don't have to worry about framing this out at all. Now it's time for the chicken. I always like to cover these galvanized metal pieces from the Dollar Tree. It's like one of my favorite things to do with them. And using fabric for this actually worked quite well. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the hanger from this rooster and lay it face down here on the back of the fabric. And I'm just going to use a Sharpie. I used a fine tip for this one to get a little bit more control because as you can see, it's a little bit more of an intricate shape. And I just go all the way around. It's going to give me a perfect line to cut on. Once I cut the Sharpie off, I should be left with just the size of the chicken. Now, I thought about just attaching the fabric itself to the placemat and saving the chicken for another DIY, but it really didn't give that much, like as much as it did when it was attached to the metal. So we're actually just going to cut this down to size, attach it to the metal, and then we can attach it to that wood round. And I'm going to speed this way up because it is an intricate shape. So I kind of had to use some smaller scissors, take it like a little step at a time to make sure that I didn't cut off any of the fabric that I shouldn't have and that it's going to fit nicely on that little metal chicken. Now I'm going to use Mod Podge to attach it to the metal. This is how it would kind of look if you just use the fabric itself. It kind of just blends in. The metal is actually going to give it a little bit more height, make it stick out a little bit more from the sign. Definitely give that sign more texture. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm just going to Mod Podge that on. This is probably the easiest way I've ever covered one of these little metal shapes by using fabric. So I'll definitely have to keep this in mind for future products. They always have these at the Dollar Tree. And I'm always looking for ways to work with them because I hardly ever just leave them the galvanized metal like that. So that is attached. Now I just have to worry about attaching this to my sign. I want to do it in the middle because I want to be able to do flowers, spring flowers around the sides. And I'm using that pattern as a inspiration for the flowers that we're going to use today. Now, I know hot glue doesn't always work well with metal, but I'm just going to try to use a lot of it and hopefully we'll have luck. It seems to hold up well. So I just hot glued all over the back and pushed that down into the placemat. You can already see that that placemat is just providing so much texture and fun. For the flowers, I'm going to switch it up. We're not going to do just yellow. We're also going to do some of this. It's kind of like a lavender flower from the Dollar Tree. I think it was just said greenery. I could be wrong on that, but I picked up 2 packages of that and I thought it was really pretty. It kind of reminded me of the little purple flowers on the fabric. So I'm going to start at the bottom and have it come up both sides. So I'm going to want to have the tip here at the very top. Since I'm going through that sign, the placemat, and the flower, I can use my staple gun on that. I don't have to worry about it being too thin. And then I hot glue the tip of the flower down so it still keeps the round shape of the sign. And so we're going to use both packages of these. I want to go all the way around, starting at the middle of the bottom, up each side. And so it's kind of got like a little bit of a wreath feel as well. Lots of floral on this and some really fun ideas for spring chickens. So I just did the opposite side, just kind of a mirror image where they kind of come together at the top and the middle. And then I'm going to continue that, stapling each base to the side, gluing the tip down, slightly overlapping them until I cover all the way around the entire sign with that beautiful lavender color. I found that I needed 4 on each side to get good coverage. And again, I am just overlapping them. The great thing about the overlap there is it also covers the staple that I'm using to attach it. And I think the staple just makes it a little bit stronger, but I'm sure you could probably get away with just using hot glue as well. Last piece for that. Now I do have 2 pieces left and I thought I might as well use them to do a little bit more greenery here at the bottom. So I just stapled both of those there and we can put like a flower in the center. This is the flower we're going to use, the Cosmos again, that bright yellow flower. I want to do a big one here for the base of the sign. I just cut off the stem to make it shorter so it doesn't stick out from the sign too much. And just hot glue that in place. And you can even kind of arrange like your petals on this one to kind of make them overlap a little bit and kind of make the flower look even larger. Now, the fabric I used did have yellow flowers on that, so that definitely kind of goes with it. Yellow flowers, purple flowers. I'm going to kind of glue mine down a little bit just to kind of make it sure that it stays open because it did want to close up a little bit on me. And then I want to switch to some smaller flowers. Some of the little yellow flowers here from the Dollar Tree. And I thought we could kind of scatter those around the sign as well, just to provide more pops of yellow. And the name of this flower is the Tweedia. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I thought 4 of them, I could kind of go with where the greenery is on these, kind of space those out. I thought about putting one in the middle, but I thought that might be a little bit too much. Again, I'm just cutting off most of the stem, but I make sure to glue the plastic piece in the middle down so the flower doesn't fall apart without that stem part. And just hot gluing those all in place. This was definitely a really creative little spring chicken sign. Lots of textures, lots of personality to this one. And I think it looks so beautiful for spring. You can see here how colorful it is with that purple greenery, the yellow flowers, that mint green background, and our little floral spring chicken. I think it turned out really fun. I'm going to hang this actually in my wall in my kitchen for spring. Now for the next spring DIY, I did bee DIYs, always one of your all's favorite DIY projects. And for this one, your favorite DIY was this really cute little bee wreath DIY that I actually made for indoor decor. Now this is one of the little bee wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I have no idea why they make these red. So I'm going to take mine outside and give it a quick spray paint with some black spray paint because I don't want to have to worry about that red showing through in the final product. I mean, it should be black. And I like to leave the antennas just wire, so I need those to be black for sure. So I sprayed the front and the back of it, and we're going to start decorating this. I've made one of these before here on my channel, and I wanted to see if I could do a different version of it since they brought these back again this year. So I was thinking I wanted to do like a fuzzy bumblebee, and I think I was able to pull it off. So let me show you how I put it all together. First, just making sure I had all of my paint dry, and these are the materials that I'm going to use to kind of DIY this. I found a great fuzzy fabric at the Dollar Tree that I think is going to be great for the bumblebee. Then for the stripes, I thought I would use some of the black faux leather from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be easy to cut like straight stripes, and it's going to provide like another texture for the piece as well. And then I'm going to use shelf liner for the wings. So first I'm starting with the head. I thought since I had the black leather, I would go ahead and do the head in that one. So I am just laying the head right on top of the leather and just using a Sharpie to kind of sketch out where the head is on the back of the leather. And I love this faux leather from the Dollar Tree. It's so easy to craft with because it's just super easy to cut and you don't have to worry about fraying or anything like that. So I'm just cutting it along those lines. I want everything to be a little bit bigger than what I need so that I can attach it to the bottom of the wreath form and it can kind of peek out on the other side. So I'm going to start with a little bee head. It looks like I cut it really well, so I can go ahead and start gluing this. I'm just going to do like half of it at a time with hot glue, making sure that is down, and then doing the other side as well. I want to cover everything with the materials from the back, and then I will come from the front and cover all of the wires too, except again for the antennae. But I did kind of need them to be black because I'm going to use a lot of black and gold on this bee, and that red would have really clashed. Now, this is the fabric that I found at Dollar Tree. I was so excited. I've never seen this at Dollar Tree before. It's like a fuzzy golden material, and I thought this would be perfect to make this guy look like a bumblebee. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it like fuzzy side down, laying my wreath form on top. And I'm going to sketch out like the body of the bee. And the material kind of gives a little bit, so I was kind of having to hold the wire wreath form down on it. I can go about halfway here because that has like a double wire on the wings, and then I'm going to cut that down to size. Now I end up actually using this fuzzy material too for the head. I end up switching it later on just because I had a lot of black going on the bee and I wanted just a little bit more of golden, and I just love this fuzzy fabric. It's so cute. I found lots of new fabrics that I've never seen at Dollar Tree before, and we're going to be using a lot of them today. So that is the perfect size for the bee body. Slightly overlapping the little stinger down here and the sides. So I'm just going to attach this with hot glue from the back. So everything is still kind of upside down, and then kind of glue it here to the wings as well. And then go up and I'm going to slightly overlap that with like the bee head, just hot gluing everything down. Now I'm going to be using this bee wreath form and also the beehive wreath form like later on in this video. They're probably my most time consuming projects that I was working on today, but man, I really love how they turned out. And I use these for wall hangings. I don't really use them for wreaths, but I guess you always could. They're a little small for wreaths in my opinion. Now, and this was my original plan, was to use the black leather for the stripes. So I'm going to cut out the rest of that rectangle that I had left. And then I thought the best way to cut it would be to use my like Cricut paper cutter to get perfectly square lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure my rectangle is square. And then I am just going to cut, I think I did like 1/2-inch stripes. And I ended up needing a total of 3 of those. I don't want to go too crazy, but I want to have stripes like go up the body of the bee. So I'm going to need like a larger one down here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Do make sure you get it on there. This is straight. When you're working kind of fast with the hot glue, sometimes you can get carried away. But that looks good. I'm also going to glue it down to that fuzzy material as well so it doesn't like bow out at all. I want it to lay flat. And then I'm going to cut my other stripes down to size. So I ended up actually only needing 2 because I was able to reuse this piece. It's pretty skinny up here at the top part of the bee. Then I'm just going to kind of trim off the excess leather. And I'm also going to kind of trim off the excess like fuzzy fabric that's kind of sticking over the edge and make sure everything is down. And once I get these on, then we can start working on the wings. I have a really fun idea using some of that shelf liner from the Dollar Tree. I thought we could make some wings that were kind of transparent, like bee wings would be. Something that you could see through, but something that's going to coordinate well with the gold and the black and the bumblebee. So I picked up just the regular shelf liner. I always like to walk around the other aisles of Dollar Tree to see what other materials I can use for craft materials, and you can often find stuff like this that can have another use. So I thought it kind of reminded me of a screen, right? So I thought that would be a fun, like transparent wing, something that you could see through. So I think that's going to work. So again, I'm just going to have to lay the bee wreath form on top of it, and I'm going to sketch out like the size of the wing. But it is black, so it's kind of hard to draw on that where you can see it, right? So I'm just using my white paint pen, and I'm just going to sketch it out in between the two wires. That way I can make it a little bit bigger than the inner one, but I don't want to make it too big that it hangs over the edges of the bee. So basically 2 heart shapes, and the paint pen actually worked pretty well for that. So now we're going to cut those out, and we'll have like basically all of the bee covered with the fabric, and then we can start decorating the front of the bee. I had so much fun making these DIYs. I do bees every year on my channel. They always seem to do really well. Hopefully this video will do well too. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. That always helps it do better. It's been very slow on my channel, so I'm anxiously awaiting Shore Living whenever it decides to show up in my stores. I feel like a crazy person going to Dollar Tree every day at this point. So I'm going to start here at the center or the bottom of the heart shape or the wing shape, and I'm just going to do one section at a time, gluing that shelf liner down. And I was surprised at how well that material held up to that hot glue. It didn't seem to melt at all. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, just at a section at a time, and just kind of making sure I got it on right. Now, I went back and forth about what kind of material I wanted to use to cover the wires on the front. Dollar Tree has rope, but they have it in like brown rope. They have it in white rope. And I didn't really think I wanted to do either one of those. So I will show you what I ended up doing using another product from the Dollar Tree. I think the wings look pretty good, and this is what we're going to use, the black macrame cord. So they have this in colors, including black. So I thought I could make my own rope by braiding the macrame cord. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to use that to cover all of the wire wreath form. So I'm going to do like about 4 feet of the rope, and I'm going to cut out like 3 pieces of it. And then I'm just going to tie the end of that into a knot, and I need to attach it to something so that I can pull on it and braid it. And I can't really tape down to my work surface here because it's silicone and not even duct tape. Nothing will stick to this stuff. And so I'll show you what I ended up using to kind of work around that. And I ended up having to make like 4 different ropes. I'm going to show you the first one that I made here. So I'm just going to take a block of wood. That can serve a couple purposes. You'll see here in a minute. And I'm just going to use my staple gun to attach that. So I can pull on that, braid it, no big deal. So I'm going to start braiding it. Now, you can braid a section, but as you can see, when you're working with the really long pieces of the macrame cord like that, it is going to get tangled up. So you do have to take breaks and kind of untangle as you go. But the board works great because you can just flip it like that and kind of keep the tension on it and keep everything untangled. And as you can see, I'm just braiding like you would braid hair, 3 pieces. It's going to give me a flat rope, which is going to be plenty wide enough to cover up the wire wreath form and all of like the seams and everything I have going on where I've attached the other fabric. So I just keep braiding this until I get all the way to the end. And then I just tie a knot on it too, just so it won't become unbraided until I can work with it. So the board trick definitely works for that, especially if you don't have something you can attach it to. But I thought this was a good way to do a black rope. I know you can paint the rope, but it doesn't always turn out with like very good coverage. So I thought that this was a fun idea. I'm going to start like here at the bottom underneath the wing and just start hot gluing that on. As you can see, I want it to cover like any fabric that might stick out from the sides and cover up everything, cover up the wire. And whenever you're working with like this like flat macrame rope, it's really easy to go around like even sharp angles like that. You can even kind of reverse direction, bend it back. You can do all kinds of different things with it. And so I'm going to do this, the bottom of the bee like this. And then I'm going to continue that same piece just to kind of make less seams. And I'm going to keep using it until I can't use it anymore. So I'm doing like the outer wire of the wing. I will have to double up the wings because the wings have 2 wires. It's kind of inevitable. I kind of wish that it had 1 wire. It would make it a little bit easier, I think. But I'm going to keep that one going. I can go all the way around the outer rope and the bottom of the bee with that one piece of macrame rope that I made. I am cutting them off. I'm not like leaving the knots on them or anything like that. I'm just kind of leaving those on there until I can get like my ends glued down. And once I get them glued down like that, it shouldn't be any problem like not unraveling or unbraiding. So this is my second rope that I braided. And I'm going to do the inner wing of this side so we can finish up this side of the bee wreath form. The pointy part here in between the 2 wings, you do have to kind of get it tight to try to cover up everything. I put the hot glue on there and then kind of squeeze it together to try to cover up as much space as possible. But then again, I'm just covering up the wire on this one. And I want it to be as close as I can get it to the other one. So there's really not like much of a gap in between the 2 different wires, the 2 different braids. So I have some left over here. I should have enough for the head on this rope. So I'm going to go ahead and just start kind of where the wing is because everything kind of overlaps there. So I don't need it to go all the way down. And I'm just going to do the top part of the head, gluing that down. And then I have another rope here. I'm going to just cut my knot off of it. I'm going to start it on the neck there where I can finish off the head. And then I'm going to continue that same piece down and go around the wing as well. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't have like any like visible hot glue or anything on the top of the macrame rope. So I'm trying to be careful with that. If I see it, I clean it up with my heat gun as fast as I can. So that rope got me about that far. I didn't make that one quite as long. So I'm going to have to do a 4th rope that I braided, and then I do the inner wing with that one. Again, I have to kind of go around this crazy corner up here, and I just pinched everything together to cover that up. One thing I love about how this bee wreath turned out is all of the fun textures. Like we've got like these great see-through wings. We've got the fuzzy bumblebee. We got the leather stripes. It was so fun to do this one, but it was a little time consuming. Once I got that wing covered, I'm going to again cut off the rest of it. And this is what it looks like at this point. I can just use the antenna to hang it. That's when I decided it was a little too dark. So I'm going to pop off the leather for the head and replace it with some more of that fuzzy golden fabric to brighten it up a little bit because I had a lot of black going on between the black rope, the black wings, and the black head. So just using my heat gun, I'm carefully popping off the leather. I'm going to use that as a template to cut out the fuzzy gold fabric. I'm really glad I did it. I think it's so much cuter now with a little fuzzy bumblebee head. So just cutting that piece down to size. Then I've already got like the braided rope on the front. I just have to kind of replace this here on the back. No big deal. I just attach it with hot glue. And I even thought about like maybe making a back on that and kind of stuffing the head a little bit so it's stuck out a little bit. But I decided the fuzziness was good enough of a texture. And this is how it turned out. I think it's so pretty. I'm just going to kind of clean up that black macrame rope kind of picks up any of that fuzzy material. And just make sure I have everything cleaned up. And then again, I don't need a hanger because I can just hang it from one of the little bee antennas. But this is how it turned out. I think the shelf liner for the wings is just a really fun idea. And here on a photo, you can really see the fuzziness of that material. I think that was a really fun choice. If you can't find that one, any kind of gold or yellow fabric would be really good as well. And bees can actually, be for spring or summer. Sometimes I do them for both. And speaking of summer, we're going to transition into my summer DIYs. For summer, I like to get creative. I like a lot of tropical stuff, and I love pink flamingos. So for this video, I did flamingo DIYs. You guys actually had two favorites, I think, in this video, but I think your very favorite was my pink flamingo wind chime DIY. So the first one is going to be a wind chime. We're going to use one of the plastic pink flamingos from Dollar Tree and 5 of these new wood bead garlands they have this year with the adorable flamingo on the end. I'm also going to be using one of their wood slices ornaments from the Dollar Tree, but you could really use anything circular. It's a little smaller than I want it to be, but I'll show you how I go about fixing that. For now, I need there to be 5 holes in there. So there was already 1 hole drilled in it to hang it. So I just drilled a hole opposite of it, and then I'm going to do 4 scattered out evenly around the sides, and then 1 in the middle for the middle part, and to hang our wind chime. So I love the fact that these have the wood beads on them, and the flamingo are made out of wood too. So they will all kind of clink together, kind of like a bamboo or a wood wind chime. So I just have to determine how long I want them to be. I think about 2/3 of the way is good. What I'm going to do is just cut it longer though, so that I still have some twine on there that I can use to tie it up. Now I want all 4 on the outsides of my wind chimes to have the same amount of beads. So just using one for reference, I can kind of see exactly what I need to do with the next one. And after this project, I have a lot of extra pink wood beads, so I'll have to find a use for those as well. So again, we're doing 4 the same length. They're going to go in those like 4 outer holes. And then we'll be doing 1 longer one for the middle to kind of make them all, make lots of noise like a wind chime. And then I'm going to show you how I put it all together. We're going to be hanging everything from that plastic pink flamingo. And this turned out so cute. I have lots of ideas for that pink flamingo in today's video, so stay tuned. Now this is going to be the 5th one, so this is going to be the one for the center, so I do want it kind of significantly longer. And so I think I'm just going to use all but like 4. And again, trying to keep my twine there at the end. The pink flamingo, some of the DIYs today, I will be kind of painting it, dressing it up a little bit, but I think it's fine, just straight pink for this one. I want it to be really weather resistant, and I think it will be. I'm going to go ahead and poke some holes here on the top for a hanger, and I'm just doing that with a Cricut weeder. The plastic is very soft, it's really easy to do that, and I'm going to use a ring for a hanger. Now these are the rings that are on the top of all of the Dollar Tree wood shelves that I DIY with all the time. I always try to save some of these because you never know when you need something like this. You could also use like the little binder rings from the Dollar Tree too. And I just use pliers to open it up so I could get it through there. And then I'm going to use pliers and just kind of bend it back where it is a solid ring. And then I'm going to have a string to tie it, so I kind of turn it around so that opening part is actually inside the little plastic pink flamingo. Now to hang that, I'm just going to take some Dollar Tree twine and loop that through. And the circle is a little bit on the larger size. You could totally get away with something a lot smaller, or you could even put your twine through the flamingo itself. But I had one of those metal rings, so I thought that would be a good addition to hang it. Now we can think about putting this together. What I'm going to do is do the 4 side pieces first. So again, I left as much of the twine on there as I can so I don't have to restring anything. I'm going to have it actually go around the side and come down the other side. That is my solution to making it wider because these little wood discs from the Dollar Tree are not too big. I like triple tie it to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And I left enough room so that that can come around to the other side. So basically, that wood slice is going to be upside down in the final project. So I left enough room there just by kind of like laying it flat. And then we're just going to tie all these off. Every time I've been to Dollar Tree, I've been picking up some of these wood bead garlands just because they have flamingos on them. And I know you guys always love the flamingo DIYs. I'm always getting lots of requests for flamingo DIYs. So I knew I was going to need these for something, and we're going to be using these for a couple of projects today. And I did save one though, because I always like to do a pink flamingo tier tray during the summer if I can. So here is my fourth and final piece. I made sure that I had them all kind of equally spaced from the wood disc just by kind of laying it flat. And this is what I'm talking about. I flip it over so they hang kind of on the sides of it, which is going to make them hang a little bit farther apart from each other, which is what I want because they were a little too close. And then for the one in the middle, I'm going to tie a knot here. I did a double knot before I put it into the wood. And that's going to help this wood disc to kind of be flat in the design. And then I can use that twine to attach it to the pink flamingo. But I have all these extra pink beads. I might as well use a few. Now I have a plastic needle with my crafting supplies. You can use any kind of needle. I'm just using the holes that were already in the pink flamingo for the legs. Just to get the twine through there, it made it a little bit easier. And then I just tied it off. And pretty simple, wouldn't you say? We have a pink flamingo wind chime. This is what it looks like hanging in front of my house. I think it's so cute and such a whimsical idea of what to do with those pink flamingos, because I guess you just can't have pink flamingos just sitting everywhere. I tried to get really creative with them today and give you lots of fun options. It turned out so cute. Okay, for the next DIY, I did a Luau party DIY video where I did an indoor tablescape for a luau. So I'm going to show you the luau centerpiece DIY and kind of how the whole table turned out. Now for the centerpiece, I'm using some of these new placemats they have at the summer section at Dollar Tree. These like giant Monstera leaves are so cute. They're glossy on one side and like kind of a matte finish on the other side. So I actually ended up using mine kind of upside down here for the centerpiece because I think they look a little bit more like a leaf without that shiny texture on them. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to kind of have them at an angle like that or if I just wanted them straight. I don't have a lot of room for a centerpiece, but I have enough room. I just went ahead and kind of sandwiched them together like that with the opening in the leaf so they kind of spread out each way and we can start working on our centerpiece. For that, I'm using one of these large jars from the Dollar Tree. It's a really nice size for a centerpiece. And I thought I would just cover it with one of these Dollar Tree bags in a tropical pattern. It could really be anything. We're going to go for like bright colors, but we're also going to have a lot of greenery like this as well. And so I thought this would be a really cute little touch. I'm just going to cut the fabric to cover the outside of the jar to make an easy vase. It's going to take that Dollar Tree jar and just make it look way more high end. I just went ahead and cut out a strip of it, and then I should only need like one piece of this. One mistake I did make here was trying to kind of like even up my lines here. I cut it a little shorter than I intended, and it wasn't quite long enough to go all the way around it, but I still used it. I'll show you exactly how I fixed that problem. I'm just hot gluing the starting seam there and just simply wrapping it around. I'm lining it up with the bottom of the jar, and I made it a little bit taller than it needs to be so I can kind of wrap it around inside the jar. That's when I realized it was a little too short. I did hot glue that end down, and then I'm just cut another little strip there, and we're just going to kind of patch that. It's just going to have like a seam, and I just made sure that that was kind of on the side where it's not real visible, and I kind of make it as skinny as I can. So I probably shouldn't have straightened up the seams there. I think it was plenty long enough without that. but just a fun idea of how you can decorate the outside of your jar like this to really make kind of a custom luau vase. And I have just enough material to wrap it around inside, but I also need to use some hot glue to kind of make sure it stays. And so I just kind of work one section at a time, tightening it in there. And I want it to look like it's draped in fabric, so I don't mind if it has like any folds or anything like that as far as this goes, but it just kind of gives it more of a finished edge here on the top. And we can fill this up with a floral arrangement. So this is what it looks like so far. Super cute. And again, you could use like bright colored bags or fabric as well. I'm going to go ahead and put some foam in there because we're going to be attaching flowers, and we're also going to be attaching a pink flamingo to this. I thought that would be fun. I know that flamingos really aren't Hawaii themed, but they go so well with the tropical theme that I went ahead and included one. So I just cut some of these squares down to size so they'll fit in there. I did one kind of on its side for some height, since this is a pretty large jar, and then one sideways like that. For the flowers, we're actually going to be using this hibiscus garland. I think it looks so tropical and pretty. That bright pink color is going to go great with that pink tablecloth. But I actually want to be able to use those as flowers in the display, but I also want to use the greenery on there. So I just kind of use some of my extra foam pieces to fill that area up so I don't have like a huge area to work with. And I just start winding the leaves in there. As I get to a hibiscus flower, I just go ahead and remove it. I'm going to attach those a different way, but I just wanted to kind of fill this up, make it look like a plant at first. And then I kind of like the idea of leaving the last two hibiscus on there so I can kind of wrap it around the jar like that, kind of cascading around. So I just went ahead and snipped the little circle that's on the end of these. Are so pretty. And I actually have some fresh ones out in front of my house, but I didn't want to pick them. They're so pretty. So I found that toothpicks work perfect for this. I have some like flat toothpicks that are flat on one end, and they fit perfectly in there, and I just use that as a little tiny pick to go into the floral foam so I can arrange them. And who knew, toothpicks for floral picks. So I went ahead and arranged 3 in there. The other 2 will be cascading down the side, kind of like that. And I think that's a really good start for the centerpiece. We're going to have really fun place settings with this as well, so I don't have a lot of room there, but enough definitely for what I'm making here. Now here is the pink flamingo I promised you from the Dollar Tree, just one of their pink flamingos. I'm not going to do anything to it. We're just going to go ahead and attach the metal legs, and that's one reason I wanted the foam to go all the way down in the jar, so I have plenty of room to attach this little guy, and I think he's going to be a really fun touch for the top of the centerpiece. So I just put him through the leaves that we already have in there and down through the foam. They're a little tricky to adjust these, so with a little bit of wiggling, you can get it just about the way that you want it. But a little easy fun detail to kind of make this like centerpiece really special. And kind of arrange my flowers here exactly how I want them. I'm going to be adding more flowers to the bottom as well to really make the centerpiece pop. And we're not just doing the table today, we're doing lots of other Luau DIYs as well, so be sure to stick around. Now here is another one of the hibiscus garlands from Dollar Tree in the yellow, so I thought that would be a nice fun color to attach. I just cut the little circles off the end. I'm not a big fan of those if I'm not needing them to hang. And I'm just actually just going to circle all the way around and just kind of let these sit kind of cascading on their vine like that. And I love the yellow contrast against all of the pink that we have going on so far. And we're going to be adding other colors to this as well. I wanted to use really bright colors, pinks, yellows, blues, and greens. So I think that looks really cute. So that is our centerpiece. And I'll also show you how the entire party table came together for a luau party. It felt a little bit more high-end having this set up indoors, but you could always switch this up for like an outdoor party. But so many fun touches using items from the Dollar Tree. I think it turned out really colorful and fun. And, you know, a pink flamingo for a centerpiece definitely works. but I worked in all kinds of different kinds of tropical leis and stuff as well. For the next DIY video, I did Luau again, and your favorite DIY from this Luau video was this great little Tiki Man planter DIY. So to start with, I picked up 3 pots from the Dollar Tree. They're plastic. If you can get a terracotta, that would be great. The only downside of these is that they're really thin, and I need to stack one on top of another, kind of like one upside down on top of another, and they don't really have a lip at all. So I'm going to try to fix that situation with just some scrap Dollar Tree rope that I had. I'm actually going to glue it on the inside edge, therefore giving it a lip, so when I glue them together, it's going to be more secure, and I won't have to worry about just gluing that thin piece of plastic to the thin piece of plastic. I don't think that would be very sturdy, and I want to make a really cool Tiki Man. I've seen other people make these out of like terracotta pots and stuff like that, and I wanted to see if I could do like a Dollar Tree version. So I was really happy that I found brown pots because that saved me a step of having to paint them. If you can't find brown, you're going to have to try to get it like a color that kind of looks like wood, like a brown color. Now, since I did the lip on the bottom pot, I'm also doing it on, this is going to be the middle pot on our Tiki Man. And again, so I'll have a lip so that I can glue them together. When I apply the glue, I'll be basically gluing the pots together, but also gluing like the ropes together. So I got both of those like that. I want it to be very bottom heavy, and so I'm just using some Dollar Tree rocks. It doesn't matter what you use. You just need to weigh down the bottom of it if you're going to have it anywhere where it might get some wind or something like that, and you don't want it blowing over. I used 2 packages because I wanted it to be really heavy. And now it's time to glue these 2 pots together. Since I have that lip now, thanks to the rope, that actually worked really well, I put hot glue all along the edges and then just set my second pot on top. They do have like a little drainage thing there on the back where you can drain the pot. I just made sure to kind of line those up on the same side. That's going to be like the back of my Tiki Man. And it seems actually pretty secure with them attached like that. For the middle body section, it's really simple to paint this. I'm just using a white Posca paint pen and just doing a line straight down. The only challenging part is like that ribbed surface of it, trying to keep your line straight. But then I do like these little lines going down, some paint there on the chest of our little Tiki Man, and I think we have room for like maybe another row of those. Super easy. For the face, I'm actually not going to paint it. You totally could, but I'll show you what I ended up doing. Now for the bottom section of the Tiki Man, I'm using a grass skirt. This is a child-size grass skirt from the Dollar Tree. And it ended up being a tiny bit too short, so you might need to spread yours out a little bit or use the adult size. And I just trimmed it down to size so it would fit our little Tiki Man. My mistake was I probably should have spread out the raffia on there a little bit because I was a little short here at the end, but I'll show you how I fixed it. It was really easy since I have all that extra raffia left over, right? I'm just starting like on the side and then hot gluing the grass skirt right there at the seam. That's going to help, glue them together. It's also going to cover up the seam and make it look a lot better just by gluing that straight over. And I do that all the way around, and that's when I realized, yeah, the child size was actually a little too small, which is kind of surprising. These pots are not that big. But I have these extra pieces. They're just the right length. If you take 2 of them, make a loop, and do like a little like slip knot like that, that is how they're attached to it. So no problem. I'll just do that until I can fill this up because I want like the grass skirt to go all the way around. I've got some fun ideas for how to decorate this little guy. And the grass skirt is key. Now I have all that extra raffia there from the grass skirt. I'm actually going to use that to make his arms. I know a lot of people do them with smaller size pots, but I couldn't find any smaller pots that was the same color. So I'm going to show you how I end up doing his arms with just the raffia there. So it's long enough now, so I hot glued that in place and just tied my twine together there on the side. And you can kind of trim up any pieces that might be a little bit too long. I also kind of want to mess the grass skirt up a little bit, wrinkle it, make it look a little bit scarier, like a Tiki Man, more authentic. And then I'm just going to take a bundle and fold it in half like that. And I think that's going to make a perfect little Tiki Man arm. A lot of times, like the Tiki Man costumes and stuff that I've seen have like the raffia on their arms too. So instead of doing a pot, or I couldn't really figure out what to make his arm out of, I thought this would be good. So I used some twine and just tied that in between, kind of making just a very primitive like tassel. I grab another bundle about the same amount and tie that off as well. So now I have two arms. They're made out of raffia, and I want to kind of tie them off, but also like kind of glue them in place before we start working on our next pot. I only want one piece of twine, so I just cut the other one off. The other two are long enough to go all the way across and tie. So that's what I do. I just tie those into a knot just to maybe help secure those a little bit. And then I'm just going to hot glue those here in place, centering them on there with I have like the chest of our little Tiki Man facing me. I think that looks really good. This is what it looks like so far. All he needs is a Tiki Man head. And this is also going to be a planter. So it was really fun to make. You could use a real plant for this. I'm going to show you how I DIY a fake one. I make sure the little port there is on the back. And then I designed this Tiki face printable for this project. I just printed mine out on regular paper, copy paper, and I will share this free printable with you in the description below or next to this YouTube video. And so you could recreate. I thought that I could paint it on there, but I really want it to have a really fun, intricate, colorful face. So we're just gonna Mod Podge it on. It actually worked pretty well, and I was just worried that I wasn't gonna be able to paint a super great design on there with the ridges. But if you're feeling artistic, you could just hand paint your own face on there. But this actually worked pretty well. Since it's a thin sheet of paper, just the regular copy paper, it kind of took the shape of the ridges, which was great because it kind of made it look a little bit more like wood. And I just Mod Podge over the top of it as well. I'm not sure if this will be outside. If it was going to stay outside, I would use like a dishwasher safe Mod Podge or outdoor Mod Podge or something like that, or some kind of sealer on top of it. Instead, I just sealed it a couple times with Mod Podge, and it seems pretty good. Now for the hair, I thought it'd be fun to do ferns from the Dollar Tree. So I just take a foam block. I'm going to cut down another one. I don't really want to cut down the size of the fern, so these being in the bottom of the pot is going to work well. Because it's kind of a long fern plant. So I just kind of fill it up with pieces of foam. So there'll be foam everywhere I want to put a fern. And these are the ferns. I've noticed that some of them, like this one, is kind of like more cloth-like than some of them. I don't know. Maybe they've changed their formula on these. But if they get too wrinkly and crazy, you can always iron them with your glue gun like that. That's what I did. On some of these ones that you can see just want to kind of curl the wrong way and make them look kind of cheap. Quick, easy Dollar Tree hack for plants. Now, I started with 5 of these. I thought I only had 5, but I ended up actually using a total of 7. Luckily, I found another 2 because it really took that much to get a pot this size and make it really look full. I want it to look like the Tiki Man has crazy fern hair sticking out all over. And you would not believe how terrified my husband is of this Tiki Man. I told him I was going to sit it in our bedroom tonight and have it stare at him all night while he slept. I don't think he was very happy. He complains about it every time he sees it. I think it is adorable. And I've always wanted to make one of these, so I think it was a lot of fun. Now to attach these together, I'm just going to use hot glue. I go around the edges where it's going to go bottom to bottom for the next pot. I can even do some here on the twine in the middle to glue it in the middle. And then it's too tall for my camera setup, so I just kind of had to push it off to the side and glue that in place. But I can still show you because I can lay it down pretty easily. Now to cover the seam between these 2 pots, I thought my leftover rope there from the Dollar Tree would be great, just to give it another fun little detail and to cover that seam as well. So I had just enough to do this. I'm just going to hot glue that. It also kind of covers up the seam area there with my little tiki arms. And I just glue that all the way around. Easy peasy. And this is the final step of my little Tiki Man. If you wanted to do the pot arms, I know a lot of people hang them upside down for arms with rope. You totally could. but this is how my Tiki Man turned out. I think he's really funny. They're supposed to look a little scary with that like look on their face. But I think it's really fun, and it would be a really fun decoration for a luau party. Doesn't he look kind of mean? Now for the next summer DIY, I did solar light DIYs. Your very favorite solar light DIY was this Lighthouse solar house DIY, and it's so easy to DIY. Okay, the next DIY, I picked up one of these fun little like square window solar lights and one of these blue plastic vases from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to make a really easy little lighthouse for an outdoor solar light that turned out just so cute. I love these little plastic vases. They're really a nice size. They're pretty sturdy. And I am going to make it a lighthouse. And you know, we just got back from vacation in Door County, Wisconsin. And where we were staying in Sturgeon Bay, they actually have a square lighthouse. So sometimes I craft square lighthouses, but usually I see round ones. But I was like, oh, great, there really are square lighthouses out there. So I love the blue color, and that part's going to light up a little bit. So I want to leave that intact, but I also want to do stripes. So I'm just using some painter's tape. The only time I have to be a little tricky is around the corners a little bit there, just to make sure all my stripes stay straight. I have to kind of just bend it there at the corners. But I want it to have like blue and white stripes going down it. They have these faces in clear and probably some other colors as well if you want to mix up the colors. The stripe pattern is probably going to be your easiest way to paint them. And I'm just doing straight across like this. So I'm going to have a blue stripe, a white stripe, a blue stripe, and then I'm gonna, I think I have room for another little blue stripe here at the bottom. So only one piece of tape here. Otherwise, I kind of doubled everything up to make my stripes nice and large. And then I'm going to paint it with just some acrylic paint. And the stencil dauber worked really well for the pot that we used. So I'm going to go ahead and use it on this one and just kind of dabble the ivory acrylic paint on there to give me some white stripes. And it seemed to work pretty good. I didn't get any brush strokes or anything like that. You could always spray paint it too if you wanted to. So this part won't like let any light through, but all of the blue parts will. So that will look really cute lit up at night. And I think that solar light makes the perfect top for a lighthouse. I'm going to make it really simple because it's going to go outdoors. I don't want a lot of details that are going to weather or anything like that. But I think this plastic will definitely hold up well in the outdoor Florida weather. So I just went over both of those sections where I want the ivory stripes. And if I see any blue coming through, I just kind of go over it again. Give it a quick dry here with my heat gun. And it's gonna not be super heavy. I guess you could weigh it down if you needed to, but I thought with it being open like that, it kind of put it down in the mulch and stuff like that in my landscaping, and it should stay put. So I gave it a second coat wherever I needed, and now we can go ahead and start preparing the top. So it has this on there, which is going to kind of get in the way. So I decided just to remove it. It does pop out. There's these little plastic tabs that kind of keep it in. And I was having trouble getting it out just one side, so I just used like a little Cricut scraper, and I just went ahead and popped the bottom off. Now the paint is getting dry on my lighthouse. I'm going to go ahead and remove all my painter's tape and reveal that really cute lighthouse pattern on here. I recently made like a square lighthouse shelf. Like tier tray on my channel. It turned out so cute. This kind of reminded me of it. It's being a square blue and white lighthouse. And my painter's tape did pretty good. There was a couple places that had a little bit of bleeding. I'm just going to take a baby wipe and kind of clean up my lines a little bit. Make everything look really good. I'm not going to do windows or anything on there, but you totally could if you wanted to. Again, just using some painter's tape, you could get some perfectly like square rectangular windows on there. And then we're going to put this at the top. Now, the little plastic windows is actually like a little box inside there. And it doesn't really want to stay in place since I removed the bottom from it. So to fix that, I'm just going to glue that in place. Because I do want this to be closed. I want the plastic windows in there. So I just use a little hot glue all the way around and glue it to the plastic cage since I'm not going to have a bottom on there. And I really didn't want to have a bottom on it because I want it to light up the rest of the lighthouse too. So then I go around the top there or the bottom of it with more hot glue once that's set up. And I glue that directly to my lighthouse. I told you it was going to be easy. Check out this really cute lighthouse solar light. This is what it looks like during the day. Really cute. I definitely recommend a colored vase if you can find it. And do some kind of pattern on it. Stripes. You could do a spiral stripe around it if you wanted to. But this is what it looks like lit up at night. Look at that really cool pattern that it kind of displays with the light. I think it's so pretty, and the whole lighthouse lights up, not just the top, since it kind of goes through that tinted plastic there on the bottom of the vase. I was really happy how this turned out. It's pretty simple, but I kind of like the simplicity of it. I think it's really cute. What do you guys think? Now continuing on with summer, the next video I did was a lemon DIY video. Your favorite DIY from this video was a lemon candle DIY. So we're going to start with a DIY lemon candle. I picked up a yellow candle from Dollar Tree, a yellow like glass candle holder. I even found Meyer lemon fragrance oil from Dollar Tree. And then from the summer section, they have these really cute little lemon wood beads. And I thought that would make the perfect lid to make a lemon scented candle. So I wanted it to be yellow for lemons, of course. So I'm just going to melt down one of these tall glass candles from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put it in a pot of water that had been boiling on my stove until it melts. And then I was able to retrieve the wick and the metal piece from the candle after it melted. I'm just going to secure it with a dot of hot glue just so I can center it in my candle. And then after all of my wax had melted, I'm just going to pour it in as full as I can get it. I don't want to overfill the container. And then I'm just going to pour in some of that Meyer lemon fragrance oil when it is nice and hot. Stir that up. I'm actually going to use just a little paintbrush to make sure my wick stays centered. And I let it sit for an hour or so and it hardened up nicely. I just cut the wick and cleaning up any excess wax from when I moved it to kind of set it aside to clean it up a little bit. But I think it turned out perfect. Now, the little wood lemon is just the right size for this candle holder to make a fun lid. When you're doing a scented candle, a lot of times they can lose the scent if they're open air like that. So it's always nice to have a lid. So I'm going to try to DIY one. It did have a hole in it from being part of the would-be garland, so I'm actually going to use that to my advantage and kind of make a little would-be tassel for it. And so I do that just by doing a little piece of twine, knotting it on the inside, and then using those wood beads that were from it to make just a tiny little wood bead, one that's going to fit the height of the candle. So I'm just going to string those on white and yellow, just like that, and knot it off here at the end. I could only fit about 5 beads on there, but I think that's a fun little touch, and I already have the hole in the lemon, so I might as well do something cute on the front of it like that. Then I also want to kind of make a ridge. I'm doing that with just some hot glue dots, just so the lid kind of stays in place and doesn't like slide around. And let that set up until it hardens. And as you can see, that kind of keeps the lid in place. I also thought that I should maybe use the tassel on there since I have it. And I thought that would look really cute next to the little wood beads that we have hanging on the lemon. It is a little bit too long, but that's no problem. It's easy enough to trim up to make it the right length for it. And it's got like a cute little yellow and white ribbon on there too. Really cute. So I'm just going to take a piece of twine and try to make it a little bit stiffer by putting a little hot glue there on the end. And then just trying to pry open the top of the ribbon so I can slide that in there. It was kind of difficult to get in there, so I just used a little screwdriver to help me guide it through, just so I have something to tie on to my little wood bead garland that we made here. So I just kind of wrap it around from the bottom, tie it off, flip it over, and tie it a couple more times to secure it. And I think the short wood beads and the tassel look really cute. Finish this off, make the candle look really decorative even when you're not burning it, and provides a nice functional little lid on there. So here it is, our little DIY lemon candle. Everything was from the Dollar Tree. It smells wonderful with that Meyer lemon scent in there when you are burning it. But look how cute it looks just on its own. This would be great in your kitchen. I'm actually going to DIY a tray that I'm going to display mine on. But I think it turned out really cute and it was really fun to make. I always love making candles. This is what it looks like lit up. Now transitioning into fall, I have fall DIYs for you. Always everyone's favorite season, I think, to DIY for. The first DIY video that I did was a neutral fall color scheme, and your very favorite DIY from this was this great grass skirt like raffia fall wreath. We're going to start with one of these wood wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I love these. It's like an MDF wood. And one of the grass skirts from the summer section. So this is the adult size. And what I'm going to do is just cut it in half. One grass skirt, one adult size grass skirt is enough to make the entire wreath. I had some of these left over from my Luau party video. So I am just going to kind of gather it together at the top, just to kind of bunch it together. And then what I need to do is cut it into thirds. So I just kind of group it together here at the top. And then I'm going to kind of try to fold it to kind of estimate like what a third would be. I'm not really going to measure it or anything like that. I'm just going to guess. That looks about good. So I'm just going to bundle it together. And I did cut that in half, remember. So I only have half of the grass skirt right now. I'm going to cut the twine from the waistband. And so then the second piece, I'll just have to cut that in half. So I have 3 bundles. And this is a great way to get raffia. It's really easy. And I've used this technique before to make a coastal wreath. And I actually liked doing it this way a little bit better than I did it last time, because I like this wreath form a little bit better. I'm just going to take a zip tie, take that bundle, and about halfway up, I am just going to zip tie it to the wreath form, kind of letting it go off to the sides along the wreath. And then you can just kind of crinkle it, bunch it up if you want to kind of make it look more like raffia and less like a grass skirt. So my second bundle, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if you can't find this wreath form, sometimes I can't find this at Dollar Tree. You can use the metal wreath forms. I've done it with the metal one with like the 3 wires. Because once you kind of puff it up like this, you wouldn't be able to see. You could just do like the middle bar. It would totally work, but I think it was easier to do it on this one. So this is the third bundle. And as you can see, that covers half of it. So the other half of the grass skirt is going to be plenty. And you want it to overlap slightly. And then you can just kind of squish it, mix it. I wanted to make it look kind of crazy like raffia. So the more you kind of mess with it, the better. So this is the other half of the grass skirt. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the twine from the waist, kind of estimate about like what a third would be. You only have to really measure that first one, because then the second part, you can just cut this part in half, just fold it in half and cut it. And we have 3 more bunches for this wreath. This is going to be a really easy fall wreath with the neutral color decor, and I really like how it turned out. It was so easy to put together. I always look for easy ways to make wreaths because sometimes they can be really time consuming. I know some people take these and tie these all individually, like 3 at a time, to kind of go out towards the side, and you could do that. I'm sure it would look really pretty, but it's going to take you a long time to do it that way. So here is our 5th bundle, and we have 1 more left. As you can see, it's nice and fluffy and full, and it's a fairly large wreath form. It's definitely big enough for your front door. So here is the last one, and I'm just using zip ties from the hardware section at Dollar Tree, and I was using the smaller ones. just so they will be a little bit less obvious, but you really can't see anything once you fluff up all of this raffia and kind of blend it in together. Now it's time to decorate it. So I went in neutral. So this is what I'm going to use from Dollar Tree to decorate it. I did not want to make a bow. I wanted to see if I could decorate it another way. And so we're going to start with some of the burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. Now these have wires on them, which comes in handy. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm just going to kind of find a place here in the bottom left corner, and between bundles of the raffia, I just wire that around the wreath form. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my second one. I'm going to do a total of 3 just because I think it's going to look better with odd numbers, and kind of have one of the maple leaf like pointing out each direction. And this is going to be kind of the base for the decor that we're going to add to it. And the fact that those were already attached to wire really came in handy. Now these are the fall leaves that I'm going to use to decorate. This is like a color that's really similar to the grass skirt, and then kind of a brownish color. And when you pull them off, they're like both connected to the same piece. So I'm just going to leave them on there. And for the first row, I'm going to do a total of 3, kind of like that. I'm actually going to use a zip tie to attach them because they do have the little hole from the stem in here. And I thought I could just take one of these small zip ties and just feed them through. So just kind of going in the same direction, I'm just going to stack those on that zip tie, and then I can just go around the same place. I kind of attach the leaves here and zip tie that in place. And then just kind of arrange them the way that I want them to look. I do want to do another layer of those to add some more depth to it, since we're not doing a bow or anything like that. So I'm going to use 2 more of the sprigs. I'm not going to use any of the berries that were on this one. But I think 2 more is going to finish it off really nicely. So just like I did with the first row, I take one of the small zip ties from the Dollar Tree and just feed them on, both going the same direction, and attach that to the wreath form as well. Zip ties and wreaths are definitely the way to go. It's so easy and really secure. So I just kind of arrange these how I want them to lay. And then I want to decorate them with some pumpkins. These are the ones with wires on them, so that's going to come in handy too. And I chose the ivory color of the small pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. And since I like to work in odd numbers, I'm going to do a total of 3. Kind of do them all at once. The wire on these is not super long, but it is long enough to go around this wreath form. I just kind of feed it around in the same place that I did all of the others and wire it to it. Easy peasy, and I think it looks really cute. And again, it's going to be down on the bottom left corner like this, where I have the fall leaves, and I think it was a really nice fall touch to add to this. And I'm so glad I decided to make one of these grass skirt wreaths for fall, because I really think it goes great with that. If you had any like faux corn or anything like that, that could look really good on it as well. And then I just take some twine here at the top, and I am just going to knot off a little loop here to make a very simple little wreath hanger that I'm going to kind of hide down inside the grass skirt where you won't be able to see it. And this DIY is complete. I think it's really pretty, especially if you have like a color or a dark front door. I think the contrast of this light color is going to look really good on it. It looks like raffia. Looks really cool. I don't think you can really even tell that it was a grass skirt, right? So a fun way to use those grass skirts for a fall DIY, and really one of the easiest ways I've ever made a wreath. It's just so easy to put together. For the next fall video, I kind of went more traditional fall. Your all's favorite DIY from this video was a rope pumpkin DIY. So the first one we're going to do is a rope pumpkin, and I'm going to do it with some of the Dollar Tree rope. I think this is the 9.5 foot rope. It would work with any of the Dollar Tree rope, just whichever one you can find. This is kind of the skinnier one, I guess I would say. And what I'm going to do is coil it. So I'm going to end up using only 2 packages of the rope, made a pretty decent sized pumpkin. And what I'm trying to do is like the sections of the pumpkin, and then I want like the ends to come together in the same place, so I have them there together. And then I just kind of fan them out to see, would this work? And, you know, the Dollar Tree rope is just kind of floppy in general. So I didn't think that the pumpkin could stand up on its own. So to fix that, we're going to use some of the Dollar Tree wired jute. So I used 2 packages of rope and I used 2 packages of the wired jute. What I found was the wire jute is a little bit shorter, like 2 feet shorter maybe, than the Dollar Tree rope. But I'm actually going to wind the rope around it a little bit, which uses a little bit more length. And so pretty even keel. So we're going to use 1 package of rope for each side of the pumpkin and 1 of the wire jute for each side. Now to keep it from kind of falling off at the beginning, I'm just going to take some Dollar Tree twine and tie it off just to make sure it stays in place while I wind it. What I'm doing is going the same direction as the rope, so it's not super obvious that I'm adding more rope to this by adding the wired jute to it. But what it's going to do is make me have this perfectly moldable rope that I can make take exactly the right shape that I want it to and make it stand up. So I wound the whole thing. This is how much rope I have left over. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim that part off. I want all of it to be wired. I also go back and twist it one more time just to make sure everything is connected and it doesn't separate into like 2 separate ropes. So this is what it looks like so far. And again, that was enough for half of my pumpkin. So we're going to do the same thing with the second rope. So 9.5 foot brown rope and 1 package of the wired jute. I love this wire jute when you don't have to cut it because then it all stays on the wire. If you worked with this before, you'll know if you cut it, it likes to try to come apart. So same thing, I just line them up again, tie them off. I really didn't have to tie off the other end when I get done, but this helps me because you're kind of tugging and pulling at it when you start winding it. And I'm not winding it like crazy amount, but I'm just winding it enough where it kind of blends into the rope. And then again, at the very end, I just cut off the excess. So we have them both wound. Now we can start forming the pumpkin. I'm going to do about the same thing that I was trying to do there initially, like by coiling them. And it's, you know, whatever size loop you do is going to give you whatever size pumpkin you want. But I figured that I needed some kind of guide so I could make it symmetrical. I'm just going to use some painter's tape, something circular that I had handy that was about the perfect size. And I'm going to use that as a guide as I start to coil it. You can only go so far with it, but once you have it, you know kind of what size to do it. Just make sure you keep it all bundled together like this. Especially since it's wired, it's going to want to try to like kind of go all over the place. And then again, I want the beginning and the end to both be together so that we can put that in the center of the pumpkin. Now to tie it off, you could use zip ties. I wanted something that would kind of blend into the natural rope. So again, I'm just using jute. I just make sure that none of my coils are like super overlapped because that could cause problems. And then make sure that both ends are in there. And then I'm just going to tie this off. And I did leave the excess twine on there so that I can attach it to the other half of the pumpkin. And it's just a matter of molding it at this point since you have that wired jute on there. And there's a total of 6 sections on each half of the pumpkin. And so again, this worked pretty well using the painter's tape. So I'm going to do the same thing here with the other half by coiling it. And you know what? I absolutely love how this pumpkin turns out. It was just such a fun idea. I've made so many pumpkins here on my channel and it just looks so nice. I love it. It really looks like the shape of a pumpkin when we're done. So again, 6 coils. I have the beginning and the end together. I'm kind of fanning it out, making sure that nothing is overlapped. That's going to make it easier when you go to put this pumpkin together. And again, we're just going to tie it off here with some Dollar Tree twine. I really hope you're enjoying my fall DIY videos. I did get started in July with them, so I do have quite a few of them out now. So if you've missed any, you might want to go back and catch some more. I love fall DIYs. I think it's everybody's kind of favorite time to create other than Christmas, I guess. So now that I have the excess twine on there, I can use it to tie them together. So I just tie it to the other bundle, and then this bundle, I'm going to do the same thing, kind of fish it through, tie it together. Just saves me a step of having to add more twine. And now you can kind of see like the ends of the rope in there and like where I tied them together. And since the pumpkin's going to be open, you'd be able to see that. So I am going to just kind of mask it with some more jute twine. I'm just going to tie some more off. You could also do this with like your leftover rope from what you cut off. Just wrap it around. It would probably be a little bit easier, but it's going to be thicker. I kind of wanted mine to just kind of blend into the rope, make it not super obvious. And so I just cut a piece off and feed it through. I think I cut off a little bit more twine than I needed. It got a little bit easier once I shortened it because it wasn't going to take a lot to mask this. I just want to wrap it around, and that is going to be the core part of the pumpkin. I want to do this now before I open up the pumpkin because then it's kind of got a mind of its own. So at the end, I just tie it off again just to make sure that stays in place. And we have pretty much most of the pumpkin done. We do still have to add a pumpkin stem and a leaf, which we're also going to be using items from the Dollar Tree for. So this is the time to shape it out. So I found if you held it in the middle, you could kind of fan out one side like that. Some of them are going to want to like kind of cross over each other, you'll find. And so it's just a lot of messing with it and bending it because of course you have that wire jute on there. So it should keep whatever shape you decide. And you can make it kind of short and squatty. You could kind of stretch it out and make it like a taller pumpkin. It's pretty versatile. So that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and do a pumpkin stem. I'm going to be using one of these wood slices from the Dollar Tree. You could also use the wood stems or any kind of stick, honestly. And I wanted it to have a little bit of color, so I decided to stain mine with a little antique wax by Waverly, just to bring out that warm character and make it look fun for the pumpkin stem. And I tried to pick out one of the stems that kind of has some bumps on it, give it a little personality. And I'm going to put a little hot glue, push that down inside the core of our rope pumpkin. And you know what? You could also put stuff inside this if you wanted to like display leaves or any kind of thing that you wanted to like put inside of it. Since it's kind of hollow, you could put things inside of it. But I'm going to leave mine like that. I'm just going to add a few leaves. And I decided green. I'm just going to use some fall leaves. You could use really anything you want. Just a couple of leaves here on the top. Just some simple decor here for the top of the pumpkin. And I'm just attach them with a little bit of hot glue. And this is how my pumpkin turned out. Isn't it cute? Doesn't it like really look like a pumpkin? I love it. It was so much fun. And I think it's going to really go with any kind of fall decor that you might have in your home. It would go with traditional. It would go with coastal. It would go with neutral. All the ones that I've been doing so far here on my channel. But isn't that fun? So a Dollar Tree rope pumpkin. For the next fall video, I did like a woodland animals, kind of like fall forest vibes for this video. And your very favorite DIY from this video was my fox pumpkin DIY. For this DIY, we're going to make a fox pumpkin. We're going to use some of this new fabric from the Dollar Tree. It's like yellowish and fuzzy, kind of a golden color. An automotive towel and some of the Dollar Tree faux leather in black and a wood stem for the pumpkin stem. Now, I wasn't sure if I can make the fox out of this color because it's a little bit golden, but I looked it up and there are golden foxes too. So I think it's going to work. And it actually really looks like a fox. So I just popped the little styrofoam pumpkin stem off the pumpkin just to give me the pumpkin shape itself. As you can see, it's not quite wide enough to cover the pumpkin, but it is stretchy. So I think that's going to make it work. And you want to kind of stretch it anyway when you're covering that pumpkin to get that pumpkin shape. So I'm going to cut out like kind of a square of it here. That should be enough fabric to do the whole thing. Punch a hole right there in the center for some of the excess fabric and start attaching. So I start on my shorter side first. I used hot glue to just attach it to the top of the pumpkin. I know this won't be long enough to like tuck this inside the pumpkin. I just want it to kind of get as close together as I can and gluing both sides. Then I go to the other side and do the same thing, basically just gluing it up next to where the stem should be. And it's kind of like a crab rangoon or something like that right now. It's got all these like weird corners on them. But this is where the excess fabric is going to come in. So I want to pull it taut, and then just using a pair of scissors, I can just go ahead and put the excess material down inside the foam pumpkin. I don't even have to glue this. And it's giving me like those little pumpkin sections too, as I do that with all 4 of my corners. And it was really easy to cover the foam pumpkin with this fabric. I got some of black of the fuzzy fabric too. I thought it'd be really fun for Halloween DIYs. So that looks pretty good. Now we can start making the fox on it. I thought for white fluff, the automotive towel from Dollar Tree would be perfect for that. So we've got like the fuzzy material for the fuzzy little fox, and this will be like the fluffy parts of his face. So I just start with the automotive towel. I cut kind of like a shape of like a rainbow, like an arch with a flat side there at the end. That will be the bottom of it. It does shed a little bit when you cut it, but not too bad. And I noticed I wasn't super symmetrical, so if you fold it in half, you can get pretty good symmetry going there. Then I go ahead and fold it in half again. I'm going to cut an arch down to a point right here, kind of like the top half of a heart, if you will. That's going to be like the face of our cute little fox. And this does have a seam on it. I don't really need that, so I go ahead and cut that off as well. I try to take care of any of the excess shedding before I go ahead and attach it to our little fox pumpkin. I want it right about here where the bottom of it is kind of where the bottom of the pumpkin is. And then I'm going to attach it with hot glue. So I kind of do a section at a time, gluing that kind of all over. Make sure to protect your fingers. The little hot glue protectors that you see that I wear there from Dollar Tree actually work really good. And I am doing the same thing here for the other side. Now, usually foxes, I've done fox DIYs on my channel before. Their eyes are usually in like the orange or yellow golden part there. But it's a little bit easier to make their eyes on the white part. So that's what I'm going to do. Kind of stands out more too. And so we're going to make the nose and the eyes with that black faux leather. I thought that would be an interesting texture. If you don't have any of this, you could always get away with like black felt or something like that. I just go on the back of it with a Sharpie, and I just drew out a simple nose and 2 little eyes like it's asleep. That's like probably the easiest way to do an eye. You don't have to worry about trying to get like the eyeball or anything like that. You can have a cute little sleeping one, right? So I just go ahead and cut down the nose. This stuff is really easy to cut. When I cut the eyes, I do try to be careful. I want them to be thin, but I don't want them so thin that I cut like all the way through them. And I also want to make sure that like my arches and stuff look fine. You can kind of turn it like either way, up or down, depending on like what kind of expression you want your little fox to make. But I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and cut down the other eye as well. And I thought like the fuzzy texture of that golden fabric, the white fluffy automotive towel, and then the black leather, it's all going to provide lots of fun textures for this DIY. So a little bit of trimming there on my eyes. Make sure they're kind of even. And this is what I'm talking about, doing the eyes right at the very top and the nose right down here at the point. Gives you that cute little fox face. I'm just going to attach it with hot glue. And then the eyes as well, with just a little like U shape there of hot glue, trying not to get any hot glue on my leather. And I absolutely love foxes. Back when we lived in Missouri, we used to have foxes and baby foxes in our backyard, and I miss them. They're so cute for fall. Now for the pumpkin stem, I just have one of the wood stems from the Dollar Tree. I already have that hole in the top, so I can just kind of put that right in there. And I got one that has a little bit of character to it, kind of goes off to the side, looks like a pumpkin stem. And then all we need are some ears. We have to have some ears for a little fox, right? So I wanted some cardboard. I have the box from that faux leather, so I might as well use it. Just whatever you have. I have it folded, so I get 2 of them, and I just cut out like a simple ear shape and then cut that in half to give me 2 little ears. I want to cover those with that like golden fuzzy fabric, and we're also going to be using the white fluffy automotive towel as well. I just cut like a rectangle so it's big enough to cover both sides of the ear, so I want both sides to be fuzzy. And leaving a little bit of room there at the bottom, I am going to glue that to it like that, and then put some hot glue on the back of it, fold it like a little book, and basically cover all of it. We can always trim them down to size later. So I trim them, but again, I'm going to leave that like part on the bottom because I'm going to use that part to attach it to the pumpkin and kind of have it all blend in. So I want just like a little flap here like this, just to help me glue it on. And that's all going to blend in with the pumpkin anyway. So we're going to do the same thing here with our other ear. Cut that down to size, make sure that I have the flap there at the bottom and that it is accessible. Now the white fluff on the inside of the ears is going to make it look really cute too. So I just cut down another piece of that automotive towel. I'm going to fold it so that I cut them about the same, and I just cut out like a simple rectangular shape there for the white fluff. Try to get any shedding off of there and then sit it on there. Again, I don't want to go all the way to the bottom. I just want to go to like where that little flap is that we made. And I'm just going to simply attach this with hot glue as well. He's a really cute little golden fox. So now it's time to attach them. I do that by just adding hot glue to the flap, and then about halfway, like about right where the pumpkin stem is where I think the ears look good. And I glue that down, and as you can see, all that material from the flap just kind of blends into the rest of the pumpkin like that. I thought about making the white go further on the bottom for the chest of it, but I don't think you'd really be able to see it. So I think just going to the bottom of the pumpkin is fine for the face. I attached the second ear, and this is how they turned out. Our little golden fox. This was a really fun DIY to make. They have a smaller pumpkin with this fuzzy material pre-made at the Dollar Tree that is like a tannish color that you could probably do as well. But if you can find a foam pumpkin in this fantastic fabric, I would encourage making him. He turned out so cute. The next fall video, I did a neutral fall video. Lots of like browns and greens. I used a lot of like lunch bag DIYs. And your very favorite DIY from this video was my acorn Hello Autumn sign. So for the first DIY, we're going to DIY one of the metal acorn signs from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use one of their plain square blank signs for these. I love these for crafting. I'm going to make a standing sign, so I don't need the bead hanger on the top. So I just use my pliers to remove that. I'm going to make it a standing sign with some of this Dollar Tree craft wood. And I'm going for really kind of a farmhouse, beautiful vibe on these DIYs today. And so I want to be using like a lot of warm colors, a lot of like browns, natural materials, and a little bit of book pages as well. So I'm using some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to stain the frame of this. I'm going to cover the back of it to give it a really fun background behind the acorn. This sign is a little bit smaller than the acorn sign, which is going to work out perfectly. Kind of give it a 3D vibe. I just use a baby wipe to wipe off my excess Antique Wax by Waverly. And then I'm also going to stain the wood stand to match. This is just a piece of their like chunky slat wood that they have at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, and you can see how beautifully it stains, and it's a perfect size for a base for the sign. Now for the acorn sign, I don't need the hanger on this one either, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm also going to kind of sketch out where I want the acorn to be, just with an ink pen, so I know where to kind of put the background material. It's not going to sit super far off the sign, but it is enough to put something small and decorative, and so I'm going to use some of that floral moss they have at Dollar Tree right now. It is like the brown floral moss. It's not my favorite, but it does work well for this project. I just attach it to the sign with a little bit of hot glue. And I don't really care if you can see a little bit of like the ivory sign behind it. I just want to get as much of it covered as I can with this moss. I think it's going to go great with the acorn feel for fall. But I don't want to waste the floral moss by putting it underneath the acorn. And again, there's not a lot of room, like depth. And so that's one reason why this floral moss works pretty well, because it's nice and thin. I just put a little bit of hot glue everywhere I'm going to need it and just kind of push that down inside. I haven't been finding the Spanish moss and the reindeer moss at my Dollar Trees at all lately. I don't know if there's a supply issue with that. I did notice that I could order them online, but I don't want to order like a gigantic case. And because some people on there, like on their reviews, have said they got like ugly brown dead moss. But I hope they get it back in sooner. I'm going to have to check out somewhere else. I think one of you guys said Walmart has it as well. So you can see that the tip of the acorn cap and the very tip of the acorn are going to overlap the frame a little bit, but that's totally fine. I like that look. Now, I just picked up a book at the Dollar Tree, and I was trying to like look at some pages that didn't have something crazy written on it. You might be better off trying to like select your book. I just grabbed one. And I'm going to cover the acorn nut itself with the book page. So I'm just going to lay the metal acorn on top and sketch that out with an ink pen. So I know how to cut that down. We're going to like age and dye the book page too to make it look really pretty for fall. So I just cut along that line. I was trying to get like as much words as I can, like less like chapters or subtitles or anything like that. And I'm going to dye it with some antique wax by Waverly mixed with some water. I just want a light stain. You can also do this with like tea bags, coffee, stuff like that, which I really didn't have anything available. So antique wax actually worked really well for it. The only thing is it gets the paper really wet. So I use my heat gun to dry it thoroughly. And then for a little more detail, I have like a bronze Sharpie, and I'm just going around the very edges to kind of give it almost that burnt edge look around the sides, just to give it a little bit more character. That looks really good. Now I can just go ahead and attach it to the metal acorn with some Mod Podge. I always really enjoy the galvanized metal shapes for seasonal items at the Dollar Tree, but sometimes it can be a little hard trying to figure out what to DIY with them. I think this was a really fun way. So I just smoothed that out on the Mod Podge, trying to get as less wrinkling as I can. And then we're going to use just lunch bags from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using these a lot today. I really love how these craft. And I just put a couple together, and I'm just cutting out strips about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches wide. And I just take a strip and crinkle it. I just broke it at the end, so I have like just a crinkled strip like that. And I'm going to cover the acorn cap with this. It's going to give it a really fun texture, and I'm a big fan of these paper bag DIYs. We're going to have a lot of them in today's video, and I hope you enjoy them. So that looks like it's a pretty good start. I'm going to go ahead and attach them with hot glue. The more crinkly you get them, the better. And when you glue them on, it's okay to kind of like switch directions, crinkle them. Just try to give as much interest as possible with that. And then I'm going in for a second row. I'm going to try to get it as close as I can to the first row so you won't be able to see any of that metal through. But again, I want it just to be really random. That's going to make it look its very best. And for my third one, doing the same. And as you can see, that goes really well with like the book page, like tinted that color. I really like that. I think I need one more to kind of cover the gap here between the paper and the metal. And I think that makes a really interesting like looking acorn cap. A little piece I can use here for the stem of the acorn. Just trying to cover all of the metal I can, and then I can just flip it over and kind of trim up some of the excess so it still retains that really pretty acorn shape. One thing about doing this is it also covers the holes on the top of the acorn, so those won't be a problem either. Now you could spray to seal it. I kind of left mine as is, but I do seal one of the projects today with that, and it actually turned out pretty good. I attach it with a little hot glue here and there, but then I thought I probably need like a spacer in between. So I just took one of those pieces left over from the lunch bags and I folded it into fourths, just using hot glue to glue them all together. And it gave me the perfect depth spacer, and it would have been trash anyway. So I just hot glue that on, gluing it to the frame and to that paper bag spacer. And then to finish it off, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree wood words. This one says Hello Autumn. I'm just going to leave it the unfinished wood. I think it's going to look really pretty with the colors we already have here. And I just glue that right on top of the book page. Isn't this so pretty? I'm really loving it. Now, all of my DIYs today, I'm going to be a lot of like natural materials like this and neutral colors, but also a little bit of green. And I just go ahead and hot glue it to the base. I do one strip of hot glue across, really let that dry and set up. And then I always like to reinforce it with like another bead of hot glue there on the back to make sure it's super strong. I love it, but it does need that little bit of green. So I'm going to use some lamb's ear, and I just pulled off the top. It kind of gave me some tiny leaves, and I really only want the two small ones. So I put a little hot glue on the tip and kind of work it behind the acorn. Fits snugly in there, but perfect for just a few leaves on top of the acorn stem. There it is, our little Hello Autumn acorn sign. I think it is really pretty, and I hope you enjoy this DIY. What do you guys think about this one? I don't think I've really DIY'd very much with book pages, but I really love the look of it. I think it's really pretty, especially for fall. And I really liked DIYing with the little lunch bags too. It gives a really interesting texture and really easy to do. For the next fall DIY video, I did coastal fall. You guys had lots of favorites in this video, but I think your very favorite was that sea glass leaf sign DIY. Now, the next DIY, I wanted to do a sea glass leaf. Now, I want to stand it up on its own. So originally I was going to use one of these little wood frame holders just popping off the frame for the stand, but I kind of forgot how heavy the sea glass is from the Dollar Tree. So that method ended up not working, but we are still doing a sea glass leaf, and you'll see what I end up using. Now I'm going to go ahead and stain everything. I have some of that Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with water, and I'm just going to do a light stain on everything. I'm going to be covering this with sand, sea glass, so many things, but I want to go ahead and give it at least a light stain if there's any areas that you can still see in the finished project. And originally I was going to have it stand with that stand, and so you were going to be able to see the front and the back. So I did go ahead and stain both sides of it just to make sure the back looked nice too. But I do end up, again, using something besides the stand, because once I got to putting all the glass on here, it really got heavy and kind of unwieldy on a thin sign like this from the Dollar Tree. So that looks pretty good. I'm just wiping off the excess Antique Wax by Waverly with paper towel, and I make sure to get it really good and dry. Now, these are the new sea glass that I found at the Dollar Tree. I like them because they had two different color varieties. These don't have that royal blue in them, which I usually don't use. It's more of the teals, the greens, and the white. And they're very flat. They're not the super fat, thick ones like they used to be either. So they're easier to craft with. I really enjoyed working with these. So I have 2 packages of them. I'm going to use all the colors included. And I'm using this glue. It's like a super glue fix-it adhesive that I got at Dollar Tree. I thought it would be a little bit stronger than hot glue because I definitely don't want these sea glass pieces falling off. I like the fact that some of them are a little bit triangular in shape, so I'm kind of going to try to play on that for the points of my leaves here, so it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, I'm trying to alternate the colors between the teal, the green, and the clear. And I'm not doing them super close together, but relatively. I want to leave room. At first, I was going to use some grout, but I must have not got the lid on my grout very much because it was dried out. So I ended up using sand instead, and I'm glad because the sand looks really cool. So just doing one section at a time. I did notice that this glue was strong, but it did take some time to dry. Hot glue would have been faster, but I don't think that it would have been really sturdy. Since I'm going to have this like standing up, I don't want the sea glass falling off of it. And I love how this turned out. It was such a work of art. Anytime I can make something with like stones or sea glass or other materials like that, I just love how it turns out. And this is no exception. So I even have some smaller ones. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up the stem too. And if I have any gaps that are big enough anywhere, I'll go in and kind of see if I can work in a smaller piece and glue that all down. It's looking so pretty. This is what I ended up using instead of the stand. This is a thrift find sign that I can flip, and it is just the perfect size for this. And it's got this nice thick wood frame, so it should stand up on its own, and it will definitely be heavy enough to hold up the weight of the sea glass. Now, it does have words all over it. They're actually fall words, but I'm just going to paint that all white to mask that so I can go over it with kind of an abstract, very abstract, like ocean scene. I thought that would be a fun background for my fall leaf made out of sea glass. Now, the writing was quite evident, so I did go over it with 2 coats of white to make sure that you're not going to be able to read any of those words through the final project. So I'm letting the glue set up on my sea glass while I'm preparing this sign before I go back and add sand and everything else to my sea glass leaf. And this does have a wood frame. I want to make sure that I don't get the paint on it. And this is going to be the easiest beach scene ever. I used cloudless for the top half. And you're basically just going straight across with the paint. And this is going to be the sky. And I'm always saying that anybody can do an abstract beach scene, and you can. All you have to do is have a couple different colors of blue. I chose 4, and I ended up only using 2 because I was able to blend 2 of the blues together too. So for the water part, I'm using this color, which is turquoise. And again, just going side to side. I want it to look just as a very muted ocean background, not a lot of details. So when the 2 colors come together, I can blend those colors together, which is going to give me almost a 3rd color to like let the ocean slowly blend into the sky. Super easy. I'm not doing any waves or clouds or anything like that. Just the simple blues. This is what it looks like once it dried, so I can go ahead and remove my painter's tape. And now we can finish working on this. I think I have them dried enough that I can add the sand. To do that, I'm just using school glue, and I just go in and fill in all of the spaces in between the sea glass. This is one reason I didn't really want them touching, is because I wanted enough room to be able to put sand in between each one. I want it to look like sea glass all over a beach, is the kind of the look I'm going for. And this does not dry quickly, so you can do the entire thing at once, which I would suggest, because once you start adding the sand, it's going to go everywhere. So this is the Dollar Tree tan sand. You could also use the white. I think either one would work pretty well. Just making sure I have glue everywhere, because once I start, that's going to be on there for sure. And I just start sprinkling it all over. You're going to want to put more on there than you need just to make sure you have enough. Kind of covering all of my sea glass as I go. I kind of just going to brush it off my sea glass to make sure that I have a nice thick coat of the sand all over the back of the leaf. And trying to clean off the sea glass a little bit too. I wasn't sure if this was going to be strong enough to hold it on. I usually like to glue from the top, and I do end up doing that. I'm not sure if it really needed it though, But again, just like with the sea glass and the seashells earlier, you're going to have to give it a little time to set up before you work on it any further. I do want to make sure that I get the sand off the sea glass at least as much as I can, and then I can start drying it with my heat gun. This is a spray adhesive I'm going to use. This is Gorilla Glue. I actually picked this up on Amazon because I was having trouble finding this spray glue at Dollar Tree lately. I kind of wish I hadn't sprayed it because it gave a weird texture to the sea glass instead of that smooth look that it had before. You can kind of see like a tacky texture on it, but it probably did serve a good purpose, keeping the sand on there. And so then I wanted a little bit more whitewashing to this. I thought it was a little bright. So I just distress it with a little bit of ivory and a baby wipe just to mute my blues down a little bit more before we add our sea glass leaf to it. And that's kind of more the color I was going for. I'm going to have it upside down. I just add hot glue to the back and glue this on. It fits perfectly on this thrifted sign that I had. And just gluing that down. Now, I went back and forth whether I should add a bow, any other kind of details, but I have so much detail on there already with the beautiful sea glass and the sand that I really don't think it needs any more. So again, I just tried to clean up the sea glass a little bit just to make sure there's no like glue stuck on the surface of it. But look how beautiful that turned out. And I really love how the new sea glass at the Dollar Tree. Definitely easier to work with that without the really thick rock pieces. All of these were really flat. And I love this color variety without the royal blue in it for sure. And this is how it turned out. It's definitely a work of art. I really love it. I hope you do too. For the next fall DIY video, I did a fall light DIY video. And your very favorite DIY from this was a fall lantern DIY. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to make another solar light and I wanted to make a lantern. So I picked up a solar light. Again, it doesn't matter which one you pick. Even a square one would work for this one because the vase I picked up is one of those plastic vases from the Dollar Tree that's square. And I'm going to attach the solar light inside of it, but I want it to be like a solar light lantern that we're going to DIY for fall. So it's going to need a base. I chose some of this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. It is a square and it's just about the right size. I'm going to decorate it as well. It was a little rough, so I did have to go in there with my sanding sponge and clean that up a little bit. I am going to decorate this, but I do want to stain it just in case there's some areas that you won't be able to see my fall decor. I'm going to be using a couple of the fall leaf picks there that you see. They have a really cute acorn on there, and I will be incorporating that as well. So I just do a quick stain with Antique Wax by Waverly all over, including the edges in case you can see them. Just wiping that off with a paper towel. And again, Antique Wax by Waverly, super quick, dries quick, and just a fun way to stain that craft wood. Now I'm going to have it upside down like this, the vase. I'm going to draw a couple little corners on here so I kind of know where to line this up. And this project kind of evolved as I crafted it. I want it to look like a lantern, so that's going to be like the base of the lantern. It's going to be an outdoor decor, so I want it to be fairly heavy. So I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree rocks to kind of weigh down the base of it. Since that plastic vase is really lightweight, I don't want it to tip over. And I'm also going to be putting a Dollar Tree pumpkin inside to light up. And so I do want that to be lifted up so you can see it. So I'm going to just make a pile of rocks, basically. I like these colors. I think they look great for fall. I'm just randomly gluing them on there, and we're going to do a pile of rocks. That's going to add a little bit of decor, but it's also going to, serve the function of lifting up the pumpkin. So I just hot glue these on here. I don't want to go too close to the edge, which is one reason why I put the little corners on there for reference. So I didn't go too far. And I'm trying to choose like some flat ones so they will stack well. Again, just super random with these and checking to make sure that my lantern is still going to fit on top. I DIY'd a solar light for summer using one of those vases in the blue color and made it look like a lighthouse, and it turned out so cute. Now, this is the pumpkin I chose for inside. The reason I chose that one is because it's small enough to fit inside. It's kind of a medium-sized pumpkin I found at Dollar Tree this year. It is ivory, which is not, I really want it to be a little bit more traditional fall color. So ivory will work great because I can paint it to whatever color I want. But I did do another row of rocks on there in the center to lift it up a little bit more. And it's a really nice size pumpkin. It's kind of an in-between size that you don't often find at Dollar Tree, so I appreciate that. I'm just going to pop off the lid and paint it really quick. Since it's ivory, it's going to paint really well. I'm only going to do one coat. And this is apricot acrylic paint. I really love this color for fall. I think it's really pretty for a pumpkin. And if I don't get great coverage, you'll just see a little bit of the ivory coming through, and it'll just make it look a little bit distressed looking, like a real pumpkin would be. Now, it is made out of foam, so I'm using my heat gun to help dry it, but very sparingly because I want to make sure that I don't melt any of the foam. Foam pumpkins are really fragile like that. And then I'm also going to paint the stem because it was bright green. So I just used this beachcomber beige, I think it's called, to kind of make it look more tan. And again, if some of the green shows through on that, it's just going to make it look a little bit more two-dimensional. So that's good. So I go ahead and just pop that on, making sure it's stuck down in there. And I think that looks really cute. So I want to attach this inside the lantern. So I'm going to go ahead and just attach it with some hot glue right here in the center. And this will be one of the things lit up inside of our fall lantern. I think that looks cute, and it's going to serve the purpose and weigh it down and lift the pumpkin up. Now for this part, I need to attach the solar light. I'm going to go ahead and attach it on the inside so it doesn't interfere with the lantern design. So I just do hot glue, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom of the vase, which is going to be the top of the lantern, with some hot glue, and that's going to also protect it from the weather since it's going to be outside. Now for the greenery, I picked up this one. It's very traditional fall with the bright oranges, yellows, greens. And I love the acorn. I love everything except for the berries. I think the berries are kind of ugly on this one, so I won't be using those. So I'm just going to go ahead and start taking this apart. The acorn I'm going to use on the front of the lantern. It's a really cool one. It's a little bit different than like the big felted ones that you can find, but it's definitely larger than the other ones that they have. Now for the greenery, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them into individual leaves so I can kind of cascade those around my lantern. Since I'm using this thick wood, I can just use my staple gun, and that will be nice and durable. And I will kind of overlap those to cover the staple. And then I can also use the acorn to cover the staple here in front. And again, just trying to mix up the color, have them go like every which way. This is going to be the front, and I went around and did the whole thing. Now, if I were to make this lantern again, I would probably do this step last because it was a little bit hard getting the lantern in and out while I'm doing other things to it because it's not quite complete. But I'm going to continue that all the way around. I love the colors. This is so colorful and a little bit different than my normal neutral fall I've been doing a lot. But I think this is going to look great, like on the table next to my front door for a fun little solar light. This is the back, so I don't really care back here if you're going to be able to see the staples. But otherwise, I tried to cover them all up, except there's one there in the front, which I'm going to cover with that cute little acorn. Did have a little bit of glue I just melted there on the acorn cap. And I'm just going to attach that with hot glue to the leaves. It's looking pretty cute. We've got the pumpkin, we've got the fall leaves, we've got the acorn. Now I want to make it look like a lantern. So it needed like a little bit of a box shape. You could use wood for this, I guess, maybe some dowels. I thought I wanted to see if I could do it with some Dollar Tree rope. So this is the brown rope from the Dollar Tree in like the thinner kind. And I'm actually going to frame it out, try to make it look like a lantern. Now I did it 2 different ways. I attached the hot glue to the vase, and then I've also tried putting the hot glue on the rope. I think putting the hot glue on the rope might be better because you have to be really careful. Since this is made out of plastic, it is sensitive to that hot glue, and you can kind of mess up your vase pretty easily if you get too much on there. So I'm trying to carefully not to get too much on there, but I just go up, over, and then down all with one piece of rope to frame out this side section. And then I'm also going to be boxing in the top of it to give it that lantern shape. And I think this did provide the structure that I was looking for on this to make it look more like a lantern and less just like a globe on top of it. That didn't really make any sense. So this was me trying to add to the rope, which worked well until I got here, and then it was probably a little bit easier to add it to the vase. My hot glue gun gives you a lot of hot glue, so I'd probably been a little bit better off with like more of a finer detail hot glue gun, but we're gonna make it work. So I flipped it over and I'm just doing the rope the same way. I just go up, over, and down and cutting off any excess. Now this did make that part of the vase a little bit bigger when I go to put it in, which is probably why it was really snug getting it in there with the leaves. Now for this section, I already have the corners done, so I really only need to square it in. So I just cut a little piece of rope here to finish off. This is going to be like the front, and I'm going to do the same thing on the back. And I do go in and add a little bit more rope before I'm done with this one. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and try to burn off any fuzzies. Again, trying to be careful. I know that plastic doesn't want to play. And then I also want to have some fall greenery. I have another bundle of that same arrangement. And I basically just want some fall leaves to go inside the lantern as well to go with the pumpkin. So I'm just going to cut off like one piece like this, cut the berries off, and stand that up towards the back just to provide another fun fall touch to this. And then just kind of sit it on there. I don't attach it to anything. I just kind of have it standing straight up. And you can see how tight it is now to get it in there with the fall leaves. So I had to kind of go around one section at a time and kind of pull the leaves out to make sure it fits in there. I'm not going to glue it on or anything. You could if you wanted to, but I'm just going to have it kind of sit on there. It's pretty snug. I think it will stay in place. And then I decided I wanted to kind of frame out the top of this as well, kind of cover up some of the hot glue. Again, if you had maybe one of the square solar lights, it might fit the top a little bit better than the round one, but I'm okay with it. I just go ahead and do a square of that rope, and it just made the top of it look a little bit better, I think. And there it is, our solar fall DIY lantern made from scratch. I think it turned out really cute. It was really fun to make. This is what it looks like during the day. So many fun fall touches with the fall leaves, the pumpkin, the acorn. And this is what it looks lit up at night for the lantern. And again, it's a solar light, so you have to use those outside so that they can charge during the day. And they don't have any trouble charging through that clear plastic at all. It actually just protects the solar light. Day and night. Now, switching up seasons again, we're going to go into winter DIYs. Didn't have a lot of content. I only had one video for this one, but some really pretty DIYs to choose from. And your favorite DIY from this was my winter tray DIY. Okay, the first DIY is kind of a two-part DIY. First, we're going to use two of these little signs from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to make a tray. The second part, we're going to make a really beautiful vase arrangement for winter. Now, they have these, I know, in white, maybe black, and this wood color. I'm choosing the wood color because it kind of matches what's on the sides, and it's going to go with that warm stained wood finish that I'm going with today. But most of the top of the sign is going to be covered in snow anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter which ones you're going to get. but I just went ahead and glued them end to end. I just used hot glue. I'm going to have a couple other things that's going to kind of combine it together there. So I'm not really going to brace it or anything like that. I think it'll be okay. I just made sure to get it good and lined up and to glue it flat. Now I wanted to do like a border around the edge of the tray, and I love using these little cube wood beads from the Dollar Tree for that, just because they're going to sit flat when you go to do like a beaded edge. So it's going to take 2 strands of these. You could always do them with the round ones too if that's all you had, but I really like the look of the cube, so I usually try to use those if I can. And I want to stain them. They are natural wood. So I'm just going to take some Antique Wax by Waverly and a baby wipe. And then I'm just going to kind of try to stain these. I was trying to think if I should leave them all attached. I usually do when I'm working with a project like this. But one thing I noticed is when I went to stain them like this, they are like a cube shape, right? It's not really getting in between them where it kind of goes down on the sides, kind of like a dice shape. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to leave them all attached, but I just went ahead. I'm going to stain all 4 sides of our cubes like this. And the reason that I'm using a baby wipe is I don't want it to be a really dark stain. Sometimes Antique Wax by Waverly can get pretty dark. I'm kind of going for the same finish wood that tray is that we're going to make. So I just go ahead and stain them all this way. I do try a different technique on the second one, but this way was actually the easiest way to do it. So I went ahead and took them all off the string because I did realize, that they're not getting stained on the sides or in all the little corners this thing has. So I'm just gonna have to go in with a baby wipe and little messy, but use some Antique Wax by Waverly and we can stain all of them. I was trying to avoid doing them one by one like this, but you know what? It does work the best. And I'm going to line all 4 sides of that tray with these little cube wood beads, and it turned out really cute. Just a matter of getting all these little guys stained. So I just go in and do both sides. They are kind of have holes in them, but if you get them all going the same way, you're not really going to see that except for a few pieces on the ends. So that's our first strand. And then I was thinking, I know when you're painting wood beads, it's sometimes easier just to put it in a cup or a bowl and just dip them all in there, right? So I was like, you know what? That'd probably be easier than I wouldn't have to go in with a baby wipe on each one of the little cubes. So I took a little water and some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I just gonna grab all of those beads and pop them in there. What I noticed is it didn't really stain it as dark as I needed to. And then you're going to have really wet beads that you do have to kind of let dry. When you're using the baby wipe, you're really not getting them that wet. They dry really quickly. So even though I added more Antique Wax by Waverly a couple times, I really just couldn't get them stained as good this way. It must be because I had to add some water to that. But I tried that method. It didn't really work out as well as I'd hoped. But I'm just going to kind of take them all out now, drain them on a paper towel. And you can see, they did stain a little bit. They're just not going to quite match the ones that I've already done. If I hadn't already done the other half, I probably would have kind of left them like this. But I was like, you know what? They're going to require a little bit more stain. So that was my first attempt. And they did, again, get really wet where I did have to wait because they didn't really want to glue down or anything like that. So I just went back to my old tried and true method. I put some more Antique Wax by Waverly on a baby wipe and just went in and stained each one of those a little bit darker just so they're going to match the other set of wood beads. And 2 strands was the perfect size for this tray using 2 of those signs. I think I ended up with 2 wood beads left over in the end. So I've got them all stained. They're all fairly the same finish now, so we can start putting this together. Now, since I did take them off the string, I am going to have to kind of glue them on individually. I did think about stringing them back together for this part because it is easier when they're tied together. I've made projects similar to this where I've made the wood beads like be in the middle of trays and stuff like that. And it's so easy to string them and glue them when they're tied together. But I was like, I'll just do like half a sign at a time and do some hot glue and just lay them all on there. That way I can kind of space them out. And I'm going to have one be right there at the border between the two different signs. And that will kind of help hold it together a tiny bit. And glue these all the way over to the side. I did have to space them out a little bit just to make sure that they all fit, but we got one side done. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and start here on the other side. And I'm just going to repeat that same pattern, the same number of them. And just gluing a little bit at a time, trying to make sure that my hot glue was not setting up before I got them all covered. And I wanted to do just like a woodsy tray for this. And I couldn't really find anything that I wanted. So if you can't find it, you can just DIY it. So we have two edges done. And even though you see like that joint in there in the middle, once you get things on your tray, you're not going to be able to see that. And it actually just turned out really cute. For the sides, I went ahead and laid them out in advance so I know exactly how many would fit. And that was a total of 6. And so I'm just going to glue down 6 to each side, trying to kind of evenly space them. And again, I have like all of the holes like facing each other, kind of like they were still like lined up, so that all the pretty sides are the ones that you can see. Now, once I got those all glued on, I'm just going to go ahead and flip our tray over and just remove the tags here on the bottom. I thought since we have some leftover wood beads and they're cube shape, they'd make perfect little feet for this tray. At first, I wasn't going to do feet for it, but I'm glad that I did because this did kind of like perch it up a little bit and just made a perfect winter display for the vases that we're getting ready to do. So I'm just going to hot glue one in each corner right over here. Not quite all the way to the edge, but pretty close. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. And then since I have two signs together, I thought it'd be a good idea and extra sturdy to put a foot in the middle on the front and the back too. And that'll be another little thing helping to hold that all together. But it seems like it's pretty sturdy. I don't think I have anything to worry about. And there's our little tray. I think it turned out so cute. I'm not going to do any handles or anything on the side. I don't think it really needs anything. And then these are the vases that I got. They're little frosted bottles with corks. And I picked these up at Dollar Tree. I thought these were really cool. If you can't find them, you can frost your own glass. And we are going to be doing that today because I think it looks extra wintry having the frosted glass. And so if you can't find them, it's pretty easy to kind of recreate these. But they're a nice small size bottle. I'm not really going to need the corks on them. But I thought 3 of them would be really pretty on this tray. We could line them all up right next to each other and then put some Dollar Tree florals inside to make it look nice and wintry. Isn't that texture really cool? So let's go ahead and get started on these. I was thinking I can just kind of glue them all down or push them all down into like snow or something like that in the tray. And I want to be able to reuse the tray. So I'm just going to kind of put them all in the snow. And then this is the eucalyptus that I got at Dollar Tree. I got a total of 5. I really wanted 6, but I could only find 5. So we're going to make it work, even though I have 3 of the vases. So I thought I could do like one entire piece in each one, and then we'll kind of break up the other ones and kind of split them around. Now for the filler here in our little frosted jars, I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree white sand. I think that makes a great sand or snow substitute. I'm completely out of the Dollar Tree snow. And so I was trying to find other things to make snow with today, and I found some really great things to do that with. So I already had some here in a baggie from a previous DIY. So I found these little craft funnels at the Dollar Tree, and I use them all the time for sand and projects like this. But you can always just cut a corner off the bag like I did there and pretty much do the same thing. But it does make keeping your work surface a little bit cleaner. And I'm just going to fill each one of the vases up about a third of the way. I didn't want to take too much away from the frosting. I wanted you to be able to see that, but I wanted enough of the sand that I could use it to arrange the flowers in, or the eucalyptus. So I line them all up side by side so we can kind of keep the amount of sand even on those. And then we can go ahead and start taking the tags off of all this sparkly eucalyptus. I love these. They have these every year at Dollar Tree. They're white. They have glitter on them. I think they look really nice and icy for winter. And they're just about the perfect height. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm trying to pick out my very best ones to be the main piece in each one. And then the other ones we can kind of cut up and fill in. So that's what it looks like with one. You probably could get away with one if you needed to. And I'm just using my little floral scissors from the Dollar Tree and trimming these all down as long as I can get them. And I probably could have done with a little bit more sand in my jars, but we're going to make it work. So I just start taking them individually and kind of filling them in. These pieces are going to be a little bit shorter, just going to kind of help fill everything out. And I kind of compare them to each other, and I'm trying to create about the same fullness in each one of the vases. And I end up using every single one of them. And I love these. Aren't these so pretty? They're definitely one of my favorite florals they have for winter time at the Dollar Tree. Now that looks pretty good. We can go ahead and start putting the little tray together. I wanted to kind of just stack them side by side in there, but I also want it to look snowy and wintry, so that's why we're also going to add some faux snow. Now, I thought about gluing them down, but then I wanted to reuse the tray, so I decided just to sit them all in there, just like that. But I wanted to sit them in there first before I added the snow. That way they're nice and flat against the bottom of the tray. Now, I had heard that Epsom salt makes great snow, so I just have some Epsom salt that I stole from the medicine cabinet, and we're going to use that for DIYs today, and this made fabulous snow. I loved it. So I just put a little cup in my Epsom salt there so I could kind of scoop it out, pour it in the tray exactly where I wanted, and I'm just going to fill up the entire tray with the Epsom salt for our faux snow. That way I have the contrast of that stained wood against the white snow. We're going to have the frosted vases that are going to look like they're very cold, and then the icy white glittery eucalyptus looks like it's covered in ice. Then I thought I kind of wanted to add a snowflake touch, so I got some ornaments from the Dollar Tree. One is a 2-pack, one is a 10-pack. Now they're about the same size. I guess the 2-packs are a little bit better quality, but I want my snowflakes to be different, so I'm going to mix and match. I'm going to use one of the 2-pack and 2 of the 10-pack. And I thought I could do one of the little white glitter snowflakes for each one of the vases. I was trying to decide if I should tie it onto the bottle. And then I decided I would just tack them with glue onto the sides of the bottle. This one ornament, the one that came in the 2-pack, does have a hole. So I did want to fill that in, and it was actually pretty easy. I just put a little hot glue and some extra Epsom salt in there, and it filled up really nicely. The other 2 snowflakes didn't really have an obvious hole that I needed to fill, so that was a little bit of a time saver. And they're pretty lightweight little ornaments from the Dollar Tree, so I'm just going to do a little hot glue right in the center and then just tack them onto the side of our frosted glass. And I'm really glad that I decided to add the snowflakes to this because it took it from pretty to wow pretty, and quite a statement piece for winter. And I love this because I can leave it up all winter, because it's always so sad when you take down all your Christmas decorations and you still want some winter decor. So I just did that on all 3 of them, just glued them to the front, and this is how it turned out. Our little winter vases with the white glitter eucalyptus. We have little white glitter snowflakes on the front of each one, and a bed of Epsom salt snow on a DIY tray. Isn't that tray so cute? I thought it looked very rustic or farmhouse. I hope you enjoyed today's Best of 2024 video, season edition. I hope you got a whole year's worth of crafting inspiration. Please let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. And I want to wish you all a happy new year. Enjoy the final reveal.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll talk a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne. And here's a hand, my trusty friend, and here's a hand of thine. We'll talk a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll talk a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll talk a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne. How come the stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away? Show us where we are. What makes the sun go to sleep every night, and what's it dreaming of? I wonder. How come the sky sometimes hides behind the clouds? Maybe it's just like me, a little bit scared of heights. Why does the rain always keep on pouring down when it's gray outside? It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder. I wonder. How come the trees get undressed when it's cold? And don't they miss the leaves they left behind? Could it be to make the ground shine like gold until winter comes? Until winter comes. Until winter comes. It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder. stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away and show us where we are. It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. Ooh, I wonder. Ooh, I just wonder. It really makes me wonder. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. Ooh, it makes me wonder. Loving me was all you tried when you were around. I've been told too many times now. Yeah, loving me was all you tried when you were around. I've been told too many times now. But somewhere I go and hide, looking for a new start. Yeah, somewhere I go and hide, looking for a new start, for a new start. Looking for a new, looking for a new, looking for a new, looking for a new. Don't wanna be trapped, don't wanna be down, don't wanna be stuck in this town. Don't wanna be trapped, don't wanna be down, looking for a new start. Looking for a new start. Don't wanna be trapped, don't wanna be down, looking for a new start. Can't you see that I just need to be...
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I also want to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Live Another Day, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, and Donna Tanner. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. It's $4.99 a month, and you're free to cancel at any time. Would you like more crafting ideas? I've got you covered. Check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!